6 o'clock, and we'll go ahead and convene our City Council briefing session, July 17th, 2018. And if y'all don't mind, I've asked Mr. LeBlanc if he would open us with a short prayer. Even though it's not on the agenda, we can always use a little help.
Let's pray. Gracious God, our Father, we bow before your presence this day, Lord, with an attitude of gratitude just to say thank you for who you are. Father, we are just mindful of the fact that you are an awesome God, a loving God, a merciful God, but a God that we know will hear and answer prayer. So, Father, we thank you for being all-knowing, all-wise, but we thank you for being our God. So, Father, now we pray that, first of all, you forgive us of our sins, our faults, and our failures. And, Lord, you would let your favor shine upon us in any way you see fit. We welcome your presence in this chamber. Father, we pray now that you would come and have your way in us and through us, govern our thoughts, control our emotions. And, Father, may we always remember that you are the source and the sufficiency, the sum and the substance, the base and the boundaries of all we could ever hope to be. Use us now, Lord, to glorify yourself. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Just a little housekeeping before we get into the agenda. We're going to, if you look at the agenda, we have an unofficial swearing in of Mr. Cooks. He has been officially sworn in already, just in case you haven't understood that. So he is part of the council, but we also wanted to give him public recognition of that particular event. So we'll be doing that in council and with a short reception for Dr. Dotson. We're hoping he shows up.
He said he was planning to, but as usual, it's kind of depends on.
Yeah, it kind of depends on his clients, I guess, whatever they can do. So we'll get underway. And before we do that, Mr. Hugland, would you like to introduce our newest staff member to everybody?
Yes, I would. Our new purchasing agent, Brianne Wilkins, she goes by Bree, started a week ago yesterday. Bree, you want to stand up and say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Right, okay.
From Kansas City, right? Kansas? I'm from Topeka, Kansas. Oh, Topeka.
Bree, why don't you give us about a couple sentences on your background? Put you on the spot.
Well, hello, my name is Bree Wilkins. I come from the great state of Kansas, the capital, Topeka. I have over 15 years in state government and about 7 in public purchasing, so I'm really excited to be here in the city of Duncanville. My family has partially relocated to the state of Texas. We're waiting on our kids, so we're excited to be here. So.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our first item, briefing on the municipal drainage utility system. Oh, discuss the agenda item. That's your job, right?
Mayor and Council, tonight on your agenda, under item 4A of the consent agenda, are the minutes for the June 19th council regular meeting, the June 20th through 21st budget workshop meeting, the June 22nd canvassing of election minutes, and the July 10th special meeting minutes. Under items for individual consideration, item 5A is the continuation of the public hearing and considering an ordinance amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance for a specific use permit for pet daycare and overnight boarding facility. This is at 1103 South Main Street. Items 5B, C, D, E, and F are hotel occupancy tax grants for FY 18-19 budget. We discussed these initially with you during the budget workshop. This evening, the Economic Development Director, Jessica James, will cover each one as per the agenda and kind of highlight each one, and then the applicants are here as well to make a presentation and answer your questions. Item 5G is the election of the mayor pro tem. That has been on hold pending the outcome of the runoff elections and the canvassing. And then item 5H is to appoint city council members to serve on the audit committee. Those are all the items on the agenda.
Okay. Okay, with that, we'll move into our first briefing item is the briefing on the municipal garbage utility system to establish charges, acceptance, billings, and collections.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Again, the purpose of this is to update y'all on the drainage utility fee. Again, the applicable guidance you see there, culminating the work plan item, which is the storm drainage utility system rate study. Some background, I'm sure most of y'all have seen it, but I know we have new mayor, new council since this whole initiative started. But again, back in '97 is when we instituted a drainage utility fee program. We've had updates in 2000, 2010, but didn't really change the method, just sort of the dollar amounts. But beginning in 2017, we started looking at a different method of assessing those fees using looking more at their contributions, which again we'll talk about. We started our conversations with the council back in April, so we had some initial guidance back in the budget workshop in June. We got some more guidance from y'all, and so tonight the purpose is just some final guidance so that we can bring this ordinance to y'all for your final considerations. So again, just real quick, I'm sure some of the y'all have seen these before, but again, the drainage utility fee, big picture, covers some of the city staff. Then it also covers, the care and maintenance of our storm water system. And you also see so as well as some capital improvement projects that we do. Again, what we're looking at is a reconsideration of the structure of assessing the drainage utility fee. So again, currently what we're doing is assessing it based on property size. And so one of the big things you want to highlight again is right now we're looking at this entire property as the example where all the grass is sort of counted against the contribution or counted towards contribution, when really what matters is the impervious areas. So what we're proposing is a new structure that reflects the contribution of a particular property of water into our stormwater system. And the way we're doing that is creating what are called equivalent residential units, which is 4,300 square feet of impervious area, which correlates to an average home in Duncanville with, when you consider the roof and the driveway and stuff like that. Again, under the new structure, this is again what we're talking about. The big takeaways is that we pegged it so that the residents, the fee that the residents pay currently is unchanged. And so the $3.50 per month that they pay is sort of now the basis for one equivalent residential unit. And then you can just sort of see how when you peg the fees to contribution, this particular property in the middle went from paying $25 to $17.50, but then a larger property like the one on the right goes from $35 up to $490. Now these would be, the top end would be subject to any caps that council decides to put in place. Just again, some comparisons. I'm sure you've seen these before. Again, the purple represents what it is now, and yellow represents where we are proposing. So as you can see on the housing, Our $3.50 rate is at the very bottom when you consider all of the other cities that were in our the study conducted by Freese and Nichols. I know you've asked, but before Cedar Hill is not on here because they do not have a utility fee for stormwater utility fee. Looking at a small commercial, what we're going is from the $15 for this particular property as an example to about $21, which again is still at the bottom of the range when you look at the other areas in the study. And then finally looking at a large commercial, $35 down at the bottom end, and then you go to $4.90. What I've noticed, I looked at a few of these ones down here on the left, and really what these reflect are properties or cities where they haven't changed the structure, sort of like our old model. So for example, you'll notice like DeSoto, the highest tier is basically they have a $6 tier and a $24 tier. If you're residential or you're not. And so you'll see that cap, that $24 was present before. So that's really what what you're really seeing here is here's the under the older structure of just look at the property and just throw a dollar value against it, and then some kind of tiering, and then this is when what you're looking at is some kind of fee structure based more on contributions. Again, here's sort of the topics of discussion for tonight to hopefully get finalize the ordinance. The minimum fee has already been confirmed. We've talked about this a few times, but setting a minimum fee for a non-residential account at $10. We also discussed, I think it was confirmed last month, that the intent was to phase in the increase over a 12-month period at quarterly intervals. And then the church, then we want to talk a little bit more about church properties, school properties, commercial industrial properties, and then treatment of properties with an active water meter. So I know we had some dialogue back in 21 June, but this is to get some final consensus on the way ahead. So first, looking at the churches, the current structure, churches are considered or charged as a house. The schools are the same way at $3.50 a property. Previously, we said we don't intend to exempt churches. So really the consideration tonight is do we want to establish a maximum fee or a cap for the churches? And then down you'll see sort of the impacts. So we have 80 church properties. One thing I do want to highlight though, especially with the churches and when you look at commercial, is we've been really scrubbing that data set that we received from Freese and Nichols. We saw a few, not necessarily inconsistencies, but we had some church properties that were labeled as commercial. And so as we really started delving into it, I recategorized them, and then so we went from mainly the $10, like in the $10 range as far as new fees go. So not much impact, but I just wanted to know if you went back and looked at your previous stuff from back in June, you go, hey, we had 70 properties, but now we're at 80. It's because we had a few properties that were mislabeled as commercial, and we were scrubbing through. So again, you'll see here, 90% of all the church-owned properties are assessed at less than $50 per month. And then again, we have a few properties that some churches, their property is all they have, but we notice like the Methodist Church, they have multiple properties that are all assessed separately. But this is what we're looking at. Again, for the fee calcs, with no cap, the fees that would be assessed to the church property, these 80 church properties totals $25,788 if there is no cap. And then what you're looking at is if we put in different, for your consideration, other caps, then this would be the impact both in who is affected, how many churches are affected, and then what kind of impact it would have on the fees. So just again, And you'll see this sort of table on the schools and the commercial. So again, at $50, we would go from $25,000 in annual fees down to $20,568. It would be a $5,000. This would be a 20% reduction in the total fees that you could collect if there was no cap. And then, as you see down at the bottom, we don't have any properties that would be affected by a $200 cap. Any questions? I want to make sure I sort of explain that well enough.
Do we want to cover each one of these instead of going backward? While we're sitting here on churches, do we want to look at this and make a decision on churches right now? Or do you want to see everything and then roll back?
I think we pretty much know what we want to do. Discussed it 3 times.
That doesn't answer my question.
Yeah, let's take care of it.
Take care of each one as we hit it rather than going all the way through and coming back. Okay? Anybody else want to make any comments?
I don't think, did we ever talk about that it was a reduction?
Yeah, I was going to ask Greg, explain reduction from what's the base and what's being reduced from the base.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry, right. So basically, if we were to look at these 80 churches and assign no cap, then they would add up to, it would yield roughly $26,000.
Got it, okay.
Those properties would pay $26,000 in utility fees.
And if we impose a $50 cap?
They would pay
That max would be reduced.
$20,568. It would be the fees.
It's tiers.
Yes,
okay.
yes, sir. And so there would be 70 properties that would, for lack of a better word, benefit. They would, by getting a $50 cap, because normally they would pay more than that.
Okay. Any discussion?
My feeling is because this is a usage fee and not a tax, and everyone should pay what they use, and no one should be subsidizing other people in town. So I believe that everyone should pay their fair share.
So interpret that for me. To what?
No caps.
No cap.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Thomas says no cap. Any other concerns? Personally, I am in favor of some cap. These organizations contribute a great deal to our community. And knowing the pressures that all spiritual activities are under today, not just here in the city, but nationwide, giving and contributions are in decline. Not saying that churches can't handle it, but understanding that what these organizations do contribute to our city, I would prefer to see some cap, and my personal preference is a $100 cap.
Well, there's only 3 properties that pay more than 100.
Having no cap also communicates something to these churches.
Yeah, it indicates that it's a drainage fee. And if they're not paying their fair share, then someone else in the community is. And I don't think that's Christ-like. I think when Jesus went out and had Peter go out and get the fish that had the coins in it, he was saying, pay your taxes, pay your fair share. I don't think that, going to a church, attending a church in town, I think that, we would want to pay our fair share and not push it on to the residents who have no obligation to our church, but yet they're being asked, the city government is mandating that they pay part of that church's drainage fee.
Okay, understood.
Mayor, I have a question, just for purposes of making sure everyone is not treated unequally. Does any of the caps favor any denomination over another? Only a lawyer would ask that
The caps do not. I basically,
Okay, that's all I
Look
need, you don't need to explain, and get
Sign
yourself in
tiers.
more trouble than you already. Okay, thank you.
And with no caps, then it's really fair.
Well, it seems to me, if we were to cap at $100, the bigger churches that can more be able to afford to pay it are the ones that are getting the break. If we were to give a break, maybe we ought to give a percentage break across the board as opposed to a cap on the top end.
Okay. Mr. Cooks?
I'll say no cap.
Okay. Mr. LeBlanc?
Okay.
Mr. McInerney?
Okay.
Great, okay, we are settled. Move on. Now, do we, protocol, mechanic-wise?
We will bring back the ordinance, and then there's the fee that gets established, so that the fees will be reflected with no cap for the churches whenever
So the next time we see this, that bullet's gonna have confirmed next to it.
It'll be in ordinance form.
It'll be in
next time.
ordinance form.
It'll be,
so yeah, let me talk through sort of the structure of this and what y'all will see at the time of the proposal. So we have the ordinance that just sort of lays out the structure that says, this is how we're gonna do stormwater utility, drainage fees from now on, using an ERU equivalency and setting the ERU at 4,300. It will allow for some appeals, and in terms of they disagree with, maybe they think that they're not 200,000 square feet of impervious area, they're 100,000 square feet. They can come to us and and show us or do a survey, or if they put in some kind of structure that reduces the amount of say contribution. And so say, and an engineer comes in and says, if you don't have anything, or our calculations say you're putting in 10 units into the stormwater, and they show math that they put in some kind of cistern or a detention basin, and then the outflow is now only 8 units, then they would get a 20% reduction in their fee because they're having a 20% reduction in the contribution to our stormwater. And so that would be sort of the structure of the ordinance. And then it would be paired with a fee schedule that assesses the value of an ERU at $3.50, and then establishes a minimum for a non-commercial property or a non-residential property at $10. And then that would be where you would say, no cap, whatever you guys determine. And so that's how you would sort of see this at the time it comes to you for your vote. Okay, so the next topic of discussion was schools. Again, currently schools are also treated as basically as a house at $3.50 per property. Again, previously we determined they would not be exempt, but we just wanted to finalize the or a consideration if y'all wanted to establish a maximum fee. Again, we have 14 school ISD-owned properties within Duncanville. The auxiliary properties you see there, those are like, when you look at the property, it's like a softball field and a parking lot or something like that, so they're not schools. The 7 properties that are under the $300 are individual schools, and then we have 2, what I would say, school complexes here in town. One is, of course, the high school, which is the biggest in size, and then the other one is the complex that comprises Reed, the alternate academy, the intermediate school, and the elementary school, and the bus barn. So those are the 2 complexes that are in that over $900.
Is Village Tech included in this list?
It is not.
It's a charter school.
It's ISD.
If, under the school statute, the charter school has to be treated like any other independent school district, so they would get treated the same. You would need to add them.
Okay.
Discussion?
The legislature.
I'd like to just move it around the table like we just did.
No cap.
Okay.
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 And again, just second slide, just again, was for your consideration, was how the other schools were treated. So again, Dallas has no exemptions, no cap. DeSoto, no cap. They just have the older structure of $24. Lancaster does have a $100 cap, and then Cedar Hill again doesn't assess a fee. So, but no cap. And then the next one was commercial industrial. Again, we have 719 properties. And you see the tiers up there. And then the choices that we sort of provided for your consideration. No cap, cap at 200, and cap at 500 for your consideration there.
Thoughts, comments?
I just think it's a usage fee, and everybody pays their share.
We've talked about it 3 times.
Okay.
Well, y'all did talk before about the caps on the commercial properties and so forth, and you did want us to look at which properties those were, the bigger properties. And y'all had discussed $500 caps, so that's why we needed to get confirmation on where you want to stand on that. And we did go back and analyze further how many properties in those different categories.
I think I heard no cap, is that right?
What would I guess we have to just look at either Winco or Costco. Well, Winco is part of a complex, isn't it?
It's actually its own property.
It's what?
It's its own property.
It is, okay. So looking at just Winco and Costco as examples, because my mind is just saying they got.
Costco's got a ditch.
Costco is $490 without a cap. And without them coming to me with some engineer calcs that says, you know what, we got
the drainage pond.
have a drainage pond, and so we capture this much water, so reduce our fee.
What would Winco be?
I don't have Winco, but it wasn't one of the larger properties.
It was not?
No. The largest one there is Masco. Let me see this real quick here. So at the, these are the ones I have from a previous one. I wanted to keep it sort of clean for you guys, but the properties that are, these are for $300 and above. So Winco is below 300 because at the $350 or at the $300 mark, the Fords is 305, Fairmeadows Village Shopping Center is 308, the Village Shopping Center is 311, W&B would be 384, Costco 490, and Masco 1,049. So those are the top 6 properties in town.
Is Masco the largest employer in the city?
School district.
They're in the top 5.
What were the top ones again, would you say?
That's right. The top 6, the Fords, these are from the least. Do you want to repeat the calculated fees to me?
Yes.
Okay, so the Fords would be 305. Fairmeadows Village Shopping Center, 308. The Village Shopping Center would be 311. W&B is 384. Costco is 490. And Masco is 1,049.
Where's Pioneer Bakery fit in there?
They would be under 300.
It's pretty small, but it's just a building.
Take into consideration Masco being the largest employer in the city and contribution to our tax base, property tax as well as, they charge sales tax, right? So sales tax contribution, property tax contribution as well. There's just such a huge gap between the next largest in Masco, 1,000.
Masco is the cabinet.
Yes.
They were sending their cabinets to another city so they wouldn't have to pay taxes on inventory.
Is that practice still continuing?
I'm sure it is.
I think you just get subjective when you start doing that. If you have a principle, everybody claims that they're sharing, you just stick to that. And if we look at the chart that we go into last time, even with these, it's still significantly cheaper than if you go to our other towns that are charging these drainage fees. So I don't think that it's onerous based on what the surrounding areas are doing.
And Dallas is about twice. Fees are about twice what we were proposing.
Okay, Mr. Cooks.
Look at.
Look at,
Okay.
I'm gonna, it doesn't matter, but I'm gonna say, I think as an incentive to attract businesses to town, we ought to have a cap. And so I would put a cap.
Oh, which one? Well, you got an option there, 2 and
Yeah.
5. We're not gonna go anything different than what's already been up there.
they have to be a big business to be up in that.
Yeah, and that's what we want to attract. Big business, we bring a lot of employees.
Yeah, but wouldn't you think that maybe we'd talk about it if we were attracting a big business?
Well, I hope so.
Like we do
Well,
on giving them tax abatement.
If you want a cap, you got 2 choices, so take a vote on which one it is.
$1,000.
So that's not up there.
Okay, 500.
Go Dennis, go Dennis.
Ms. Thomas?
Okay.
Okay. I go along with Dennis. I would prefer to see a cap simply because of the effect that something like this has on the economic development of our city. So it's going to be a 5-2, but it's going to be a no cap if that's the consensus, and that's where we go.
But we're not voting here.
No, but that's what it's going to end up. That's what it's going to end up.
The night of the ordinance, the council has a prerogative to change anything that's in it. We just need to know, put a stakeholder number in there or a
That's it.
concept in there. So
We're just putting stuff on the table tonight. We're being open and honest. with
one of the
everything.
things you could always consider is also there may be an opportunity to do something in an economic development situation. If you were attracting a client, do some form of rebate or something along those lines so that you would have the ability to attract new business. And look at it at the time and do it.
So for the structure, for the night of for consideration, we would just present it as no caps.
No cap.
And then y'all would have, that would be when we would sort of do I guess you would do a desk change if something else is
Yeah,
determined.
if they were to change their mind or be influenced in a different way, then we'll make that change that night.
I like that, influenced in a different way.
And this
As soon as this ordinance is published.
This goes into effect with the beginning of the fiscal year, is that right?
Well, I'll go through the timeline.
Okay, go ahead, move on.
So the next topic of discussion was inactive water meters. I know we had come up for consideration to charge this to properties that do not have an active water meter. Currently, we do not assess properties with active water meters. The bottom line is today within utility billing, given utility billing, there's really old software and some staffing constraints to add a capability to assess fees to a non-active or an inactive meter would be challenging. We ran some so whats. So from utility billing, we're looking at approximately 230 inactive residential water meters, and that changes every day depending on who gets new water and moves. But we're looking at, based on that snapshot, that'd be like $9,700 in uncollected fees on the residential side. And then I pulled the 27 inactive commercial water meters provided by utility billing. And those particular properties would yield basically $3,100 in non-collected fees. So really what we're talking about is $12,000 out of the almost $700,000, $800,000 in fees that would end up not being collected if we just keep it with active water meters.
12,000?
$12,000 for the year out of $800,000.
But for us to make a change in our utility billing software, because we have an old system, we have to contract someone to make that change. That change could end up costing us more than what we'd actually collect. What we would propose, we are planning on going into a new utility billing software system next year. And so what our intent is that with a new system, we should be able to handle inactive accounts. Some other cities
So
that are
we
able.
can revisit this in
Yeah,
a year.
that's what we would suggest, is that we revisit it.
And then one other for consideration goes back to collections as well. When this is attached to the city's standard utility bill, failure to pay results in no water. Failure to pay outside of an active water meter basically would just reduce, it would be an outstanding debt against the city that we would just not collect.
Well, you will collect it at some point, because when someone's trying to move into the building.
We can't put a lien against the property for unpaid fees, stormwater fees, unless we get a judgment. So unlike for an abatement, we're legally allowed to, we abate your property for code enforcement violation, and you don't pay it, you get a lien. This would be, you don't pay it, we go and get a judgment in court, and then we get permission to put a lien in. So like on a house, you're talking 1 year of no payments, like $50.
Well, it wouldn't apply so much to residential, but on the commercial side, can we put a modified impact fee on, since we don't have impact fees? To where if you're gonna occupy this building, you're gonna pay.
Impact fees are a whole different category.
Yeah, they just call it something different.
What you can't do is what the statute won't allow you to do. And the statute doesn't impose any way to impose a lien, where it does on some of these other types of charges that are authorized under state law. This one does not. So you'd have to go to JP court and get a judgment, and then you file the judgment, and that goes on the court. But there's no way to do it.
Okay.
You might,
Why wouldn't you
depending
want
on
to
the
do that?
yeah.
That's easy.
You might want to do that. The cost of compliance, and you don't need a lawyer to go to the small claims court anymore, so someone from staff could do that and file those, and in all likelihood, they'd be defaults, and you'd get judgments and come on there.
So
You'd
this-
probably do it once or twice a year.
Since this is gonna be
Not that I'm
deferred, let's move
volunteering
on.
Mr. Hutton and staff.
Let's move on, thank you.
So finally, just looking at the timeline here, the key milestones again would be 16 August would be when the proposed ordinance would be advertised in the newspaper, prior to a 18 September public hearing, which would be your vote. We would need 6 months to get this, get our utility billing, make sure we've got all the accounts aligned, and the utility billing software that we do have is set up so that we know what properties are paying what, or in some of these properties that have multiple meters, we know which meter is paying what. And then we would start roughly the April timeframe, and then we would start the quarterly increases. and then subject to your questions.
Okay, thank you very much. And you're up again, right?
Chastity, come after this one.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're going to discuss briefly bike share operations and regulations, applicable guidance. We do have some council capstones with regard to multimodal transportation alternatives. Bike sharing is a non-motorized or motorized transportation service, usually intended for users to use on a short distance. They've kind of been growing rapidly in popularity in the region. Ridership fee is generally charged depending on the usage. Some of the most popular services right now charge $1 for the first 30 minutes. And then some of them that now have electric bikes or electric scooters in their fleet charge like an initial unlocking fee and then a 15% per mile charge. So that's kind of how they're operating. And some of them do also offer subscription-based, so you could pay a monthly subscription, you get a certain amount of rides per month. Typically, there's two types of bike sharing systems. There are the ones that have docking stations, and then the dockless bikes, which utilize GPS technology on the bike frame themselves to unlock and lock the bikes, and also help with location of the bikes. Some companies in the area are listed here. We have seen some in the city, mostly Lime Bike and OFO have been the two largest bikes that have been in the area. Future trends, again, electric scooters. That's a relatively new component to the bike share system, which is coming online pretty quickly. Again, dockless bike shares do not require a docking station. They can be parked at a bike rack, on a sidewalk, in the right-of-way, really any location. They are located and unlocked using a smartphone app. So you also pay through the app. So you either the app is linked to PayPal or a credit card. So when you go, I don't know if any of you have utilized one of these before, but if you go and you go to the bike, you use the app, and you once you initiate the service, it unlocks the bike. You can ride it for however long you want, and then you're supposed to lock it and end your trip, and then it stops calculating the fee based on that. So they are tracked through the smartphone app. Here are some examples of the bike sharing systems. The one on the upper left is one that's in a docking station. Some cities have gone to that. New Orleans, Chicago, they utilize dock stations. And then the dockless bikes are the other three photos that you see that have been deployed mostly in the Metroplex right now. If you've been in downtown Dallas, I'm sure you've seen them everywhere in downtown Dallas recently. So we have also been experiencing an influx of dockless bikes here in the city limits. Some have been found on private property, but most have been found in the public right-of-way, and some of them in the parks. There is no specific bike share program that's been established with the city or any particular contractor established. We actually have reached out to a couple of the companies, and they've indicated, at least one has indicated, that they actually did not designate Duncanville for their fleet, which means that the bicycles that are located in the city are likely abandoned bikes by users or people who have taken the bikes. And so they have become a nuisance within the right-of-way and within some of our public places. Staff has currently been collecting and storing the abandoned bikes at the service center. We have about 18 currently at the service center that have been located in various areas around the city. We have, one company has come and picked up some of their bikes. We've contacted them again, and they're coming to pick those up. Part of the issue, if you can see this photo on the far right, is that some of these bikes, as I mentioned, are likely abandoned. So they've been disabled with their GPS monitoring and their tracking device. So some of these companies don't even know that the bikes are here because the devices that track them have been removed. So there's a lot of education going on right now for cities as well as these companies themselves. I think the phenomenon grew faster than they were anticipating, and so there's a lot of kinks that they're still working out. For instance, they currently don't have any repercussions for clients who abandoned bikes in the wrong locations and things like that. So they're catching up with it as well. So again, we do see that bike share has been successful in a lot of communities. We do feel that it is another form of transportation. However, a lot of cities have gone to developing ordinances to help regulate the operations of the bike share systems. Dallas, Plano, Denton, and Capel are some cities that have recently adopted bike share ordinances, and the intent is really to help to try to regulate the orderly use of the bike share systems, as well as to try to encourage better customer behavior. So most of the ordinances that have been adopted by other cities include some general components, mostly a tiered fee structure. So most of them require permits for the bike companies to locate in the city. So even though currently we don't have necessarily a company that has a fleet designated to Duncanville, if we were to adopt an ordinance with a permitting structure, they would have to get a permit with the city to be able to operate within the city. Most of the ordinances also include requirements related to appropriate vehicle safety, parking guidelines, things like where they can locate within the right-of-way, or even what's being called as geofencing, which is more of a kind of designating areas in which these bicycles can be parked. Operational requirements and requiring operator response. There's a lot of ordinances that structure that they have a time limit with regard to when a bike is abandoned and picked up, the time limit for the operator to come and retrieve those bicycles. Data sharing, which is another component of a lot of ordinances that requires the companies to provide data to the cities with regard to not the details of the rider, but more so where are people picking up the bikes from, where are they going, and that data is really important for the cities to utilize in their transportation planning efforts. And then of course, insurance requirements as well. So again, staff does seek input from council on whether you would like staff to pursue drafting a bike share ordinance. We do feel that it is something that we should look into doing, considering the fact that it's just one of those phenomena that's coming and is here already. And so the intent is to try to help facilitate orderly operation.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Based on the magnitude of the problem and what it would cost staff to further research and develop this ordinance, is it really worth it right now to spend more time in productivity, personnel costs, to put these, that list of what has to go into that ordinance is huge. And I just wonder, based on 18 bikes, is it worth pursuing this for an ordinance? At this point in time, we're deferring it until we have a much, much larger problem in the city.
That's certainly up to the council, but we do have the benefit of having an attorney who's drafted an ordinance for other cities, and there are some.
That doesn't mean it won't be charged to us.
Well, true.
I do charge for my time.
Yeah, that's right.
But what you won't charge for is all the research I had to do the first one, because I've already got that. So let me talk a little bit about this so you understand. If you don't have anything, if you don't do anything else, pass this ordinance that doesn't allow them. Because if you don't, then you're going to have a bigger problem. I will say this. Since Dallas passed its ordinance at the end of June,
Right.
it has been increasingly safer, more responsible by the bike share. When I go to work every morning, they're all standing up by no more than 5 in a location for each company. So Dallas is geofenced them. So you're not supposed to operate really south of Bishop Arts. You're not supposed to be in a residential neighborhood. It's only for central business district. So you may see it decline, but I do not disagree with your analysis that is it really a problem worth regulating. But you have to be cognizant of the fact that you've got vandalized bikes. What you're seeing, what Jesse showed you, is where someone's cut the lock, cut the GPS off of it, and has become then for transient people a method of getting to and from Dallas to Duncanville or Dallas to Carrollton. They're not a chronic use.
Stuff happens. I mean, you're not.
The only reason Capel did one is Amazon we have a fulfillment center. And for whatever reason, there is a bunch of bikes, they're on private property, but people are taking the DART station to work, and they're trying to partner, and so it's called the last mile phenomenon. You take mass transit to a site, and then you get on the bike, and then go to your place of work, then you go from your place of work back to the mass transit. Since they have that there, that's what's being addressed there. I'll let the manager say, and your staff tell you whether it's a problem, but if it's not a problem, we don't regulate. And you can save your money. And
One of the
not
things
spend
that
it with me.
I just asked Chastity though too was, as she said, the company has to apply for a permit, but there's nothing that requires them to apply for a permit. And if they don't want to get a permit, we have no control over them. We'll still have the bikes showing up here under the circumstances they are. And I think the difference is if we're not even on their map, they probably don't even have an interest in getting a permit with us. And so we probably won't gain anything from it. I think we have, seen a reduction in the number of bikes since Dallas has implemented their ordinance. We're not seeing
Saw
quite as
two
many.
in the neighborhood this week.
Did you?
In the
neighborhood.
neighborhood, dumped at the corner of Lady and Frankie's. And I know she doesn't ride a bike. The
Is
lady
there-
she already said.
And if they're in the public right of way, if they're blocking the street or the sidewalk, we've got the right to remove that under current ordinance.
Just let us
And
know when
that's
you get
what
by.
we do.
There's one, when I left, there's one laying there.
We're at.
The corner of Lady and Frankie's.
I think Fort Worth is looking at that, it's
They
right
have
on
dock.
it now.
They have dock.
It's dock.
Austin has dock, they're looking at dockless. I've looked at ordinances from Seattle, Portland, Durham, North Carolina, New Orleans, Chicago, New York City's got them. New York City's are sponsored by Citibank.
So,
They got one,
So-
someone else paid for it, so
so
you don't have a problem, then don't do it.
rewind, is it really worth our staff's time and his
To regulate.
money?
Your money might come.
Yeah, well, to tackle this issue based on what we're seeing today.
But if
I
you-
mean, if staff doesn't have the time to go pick up a bike, call me, I got a pickup truck, I got a little time, tell me where it's at, I'll go get it and take it to the service center. We'll pick it up.
And so if we, what are our choices? Because I'm with you, I don't want to do all the regulation and all.
Yeah, if you don't want, that's, council directed staff to research this topic, that's why we brought it
Right.
forward. And so we're asking if you want to staff to draft an ordinance. If you don't, then we
Well,
won't
it's not
draft
drafting an
one.
ordinance if we don't want a permit here.
That would be a component of the ordinance, would be requiring the companies to receive a permit. But it doesn't, to Kevin's point, it doesn't stop users from dumping the bikes.
Right.
That's just user,
The
you know,
companies
customer
don't wanna
reasons.
come here anyhow.
Well,
So
can
have
we write them a
We have no
fine?
permit income.
You can't, because you don't know who put the bike there.
Right.
That's the problem with, that's why if you permit them, then you've got control over their permit. If you don't permit them, there's no way, they don't have any control, so I rent the bike, I'm irresponsible, I leave it in an appropriate spot, it's
How
still
about,
there.
how about if we charge a fine when they come and pick it up?
But if they pick it up, you can charge them what I call a relocation fee.
There you go,
Can
there
we
you
auction them
go.
off if they don't come pick them
If
up?
they
There you
don't
go.
come, I've written in the ordinance that if they don't pick them up in 60 days, they're considered abandoned property and the city can dispose of them in accordance with state law.
Well, now that I would go for, but not, like,
They have their own bikes.
So we could have a one-page ordinance.
You could have
one
a
Yeah.
simple ordinance
Have you
that
seen
make
the
it
attorney?
unlawful for anyone to cause
we have to teach it.
cause, permit, suffer, and allow. If an abandoned bike gets picked up, there's an impound fee for any bike operator. And if
60
they don't
days
pick it up in
lost,
60
and
days,
it's
we
Yeah.
auction it off as abandoned property.
We want suffering and inconvenience.
The main thing for us, I think, for challenge-wise, is again, you see, we have 18 bikes that we've had to go pick up with the city staff. And what we've really done for the vendors that are actually proactive and come fetch them, is collecting them all for them, so they don't have to drive all over our city.
Right,
They just have to go drive to our service center and go fetch all the bikes that we picked up for them.
charge them.
And then they're stuck there, and then as you see, I still got 18 of them that I can't really do anything. Storage fees. So maybe some
Yeah,
stuff
there you go.
about, if
Storage
you come
bin.
get them from us, I don't know, I mean, that was something, that's our challenge is, what do we do with the bikes that are sitting in our
I'm for that.
service center?
I'm for a penalty.
Abandoned bikes, 60 days, becomes city property.
Okay,
We dispose
if they
of
don't
them.
pick them up in what, 30 days, can we sell them?
Dallas's ordinance says 60, but, you know, it's gotta be a reasonable time. 30,
Was-
60, 90.
30,
Yeah,
30.
But 30, we can do 30? If we say, if they don't pick them up in 30 days, sell them.
Becomes our property, and we do what we want with it.
It's considered
Right.
abandoned property.
Abandoned.
Not ours, abandoned.
Okay, so that-
Proceeds.
So that's a 25-word ordinance.
Well, being complete.
Then you start talking by the word, don't you?
No.
But I'd like to say something in the positive, not about picking up the bikes and abandoned bikes, but in my area, I live over by Camp Wisdom and where it borders Dallas, and I have seen a lot of bikes. And I can tell you, that I drive that area frequently, and there's not been any abandoned bike that I've seen. I've seen them on the sidewalk, and I think, huh, there's one of those bikes. And later I'll drive by and the bike's gone. And I see people driving them to the shopping centers, you know, all around that Camp Wisdom area. And I just think, you know, being an urban girl that I am, I just think it's a lovely sight to see people out having the urban experience of riding a bike. Now, I know that they come from Dallas and know we have to deal with it, but I just like the idea of people being able to ride the bikes, and hopefully we'll get bike trails where they're to ride safely. Bike lanes.
They're not coming here to ride bike trails. And if they start dumping them in your yard, that's the thing. So I know
We'll
this
have a
lady,
dance, so.
this lady,
If they're on private property, we
It's
can't
private.
do anything about it though. If it's in the right of way, we can do that. But if it's on private property, it's up to the property owner, because we don't know if the property owner wants it there or not. But they have the right to do with what they want, dispose of it if it's left on their property.
so if it's left on your property, you can do what you want to? Like you can put it in the garage sale?
Yeah, I mean, it's abandoned, they don't,
Yeah, why not?
they have the bikes have transponders on them, and you can find those bikes. If you were to take a line bike, we found one, I think, Parks Director found one in the pond, or in Harrington Park, and sure enough, that's where it was, because they got an app to track it. And so, it's the ones that become disabled to get off the grid that are really the huge problem. So,
So do
if
we
it's
want a
left,
one-paragraph ordinance that says an abandoned bike for one of those companies left in this city in our storage area for 30 days or more becomes abandoned property and the city of Duncanville disposes it accordingly?
Yep.
There it is, that's our ordinance, no more research.
Do we already have that?
well, no,
What would we add
There's
on?
one way that we would have to keep something.
What was the question? I can't hear.
generally, she asked about if we find other property that is not picked up or disposed of, the police department generally handles that, because that's where people take things. If they find someone's wallet or watch, take it to the police department, and if it's not claimed within a certain period of time,
Abandoned cars.
it's turned over to Richard, and Richard sends it to an auction that conducts an auction. So, to the extent that it's abandoned property, it's abandoned property.
Okay, we are super late.
You are correct there.
Let's finish.
All right, let's boogie on as fast as we can go. Next up, city calendar.
It all looks good to me. I concur.
Okay.
One thing we did show on here, Friday, the August 3rd, is a tentative budget workshop. That was planned for all day. On the other workshop, you decided to make that 2 evenings. So if you want to do that with this workshop as well, move it to like the next week, maybe Wednesday, Thursday evening? Or you want to go with an all-day on Friday the 3rd?
Where are we again?
August. August 3rd.
August
That
3rd.
tentative for the budget workshop.
I don't think so.
I can't do day, because I can't do day.
Do we need to do one all day since we've already done?
Well,
already
this
been
is
through it?
the workshop where we'll cover the budget, the proposed budget. So
this is.
I don't know that we typically have gone all day, but again, I would probably, with all of the funds, I would suggest that we do, again, like the 2 evenings, start at 6 o'clock, or if you want to start at 5 or whenever you want, and keep it to like 3 hours, 5 to 8.
The whole day is not good, Patrick.
I can't do day.
I mean, like even if we started at 6,
Oh, yeah, yeah, I can do that.
or just, that's what I'm asking. The
Work
day
schedule.
block is out, but the evening block.
Right,
is okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
Is 5 doable or
Yeah.
6 is
I can do 5.
5? You don't want to start, is that when we started last?
We did it at 4. I can do 4.
Did we do 4? Okay,
I can
so
do
just
4.
4 work? Y'all want to do 4? Probably go like 4 to 7.
Okay.
8th and 9th, work okay?
8th and 9th of
August.
Wait. What happened?
Well, I didn't think y'all wanted to do Friday evening.
We didn't.
So if we do it
Friday
from 4 to
What,
9,
you got a hot date or
well,
something?
what are you doing? We just knock an hour, we're doing it 1 to 9.
Just gotta watch Blue Bloods.
Well, yes, we probably could. We could do that and just shoot for getting it done in one evening. If we start at 4, I think we could probably knock it out by 9.
Because we're just missing an hour if we do it 2 days. How can we just knock it out?
I think we probably.
On Friday, you mean, Lester?
Friday and Thursday? I don't care. I'll be here. I just want one night. I don't want 2 nights.
And what are you saying? Thursday?
Thursday or Friday? Thursday. I mean, Friday, people that make plans on Fridays in summer.
Yeah, we make
what
plans.
day?
Is Thursday okay?
Some of us do.
No.
The 9th, is that?
The 9th, Thursday the 9th is good.
Okay, good.
August 9th.
Yeah.
Thursday,
Okay with you?
August 9th.
4 to 9?
4 o'clock?
Richard, you don't see issue with that?
Works for me.
I don't think so. As long as we're not gonna be changing the tax rate, then we're good. We would need to have, if we're gonna change the tax rate, that'll not be a problem. But if we're leaving the tax rate alone, it won't be a problem.
Should we do it August the 2nd?
I can't do the
I
second
can't
at
do
all.
I think we'll get a clear, we're having another meeting this Thursday, so I think we'll get a clear idea from y'all
Okay.
how where we're at on that, so I think we'll be okay.
So ink in the 9th at 4 o'clock?
Can you return back to the Board of Commission interviews, 23rd and 24th? I know you guys probably already discussed it. Are we interviewing everyone, or are we interviewing just appointments itself?
So the last year, the council chose to only interview applicants who were not currently serving on a board, or those who were wanting to change from one board to another board, not reappointments. They did not re-interview, or did not interview reappointments. I think that was the direction y'all gave us again for this year when we talked about it.
Except we have 3 new people, and I think they would like to participate in interviewing everyone.
Oh, I know I would.
Okay, that will significantly change the amount of time it will take to interview.
Well, there's other things that we need to do too, like our rules of procedure we need to talk about. That needs to be on here. I mean, there's stuff that we have to do.
Whatever y'all want.
The reappointments, it should not take us that long to interview that. I mean, I know you have to add to it, but it shouldn't take that long.
But you want to add those that are already on boards and commissions as well.
I do.
The entire scope of everything.
Well, we had
We
18.
can limit the time to less.
Right, less. That's correct. I think we can get them in and get them out.
Probably looking at 3 nights at least, and that's at 10 minutes apiece. Like, and are you? And Wednesday, you're probably going to want to be traveling to TML. Yep. Well, no, that's right. It's in Fort Worth, so I guess you don't have it. Never mind. Disregard that.
No,
No.
that's Waco.
That's
Yes, yes, Waco.
Oh, this is some. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not the TML.
That's Waco.
conference. Okay.
Let's even
My glasses. So you want to do then 23, 24, 25? And we'll have to we'll look at the scheduling. Is that
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Well, I won't be here for all of the night of the 25th then.
Do y'all want to start earlier?
Yeah, start early.
5?
Yeah, this is something, I mean, if you are comfortable with your fellow council members' judgment, this is something that, you know, we don't all have to be here at the same time. So. Unless you want to be.
We're gonna start early, we're gonna start at 6.
Yeah.
Start earlier. Knock it out.
23, 24, and 25 starting at 5.
Okay,
6 until what,
okay.
council, 6 until what, city manager?
Pardon?
It's 6 until, how many hours you take per day?
We would probably not schedule anyone past 9 o'clock. So 5 to 9,
And that's all 3 days.
right. And so that's 4 hours, 6 people per hour. And that's
Typically, you
and you're
can't
gonna
do
get
6.
behind,
Yeah.
so let's say, so you do 5 an hour, you get 20 a night. So that's 60 total in 3 days, and that's about the number we have. So, yeah.
You know,
So
really
that's-
truthfully, we should have talked about some of these boards because I think some of them they were set up by previous city manager, city council, and they're really,
In terms of their future existence. Well, I thought y'all went through that last year.
some of them
That's
were.
how one that was supposed to
Sunsetted,
be
but-
deleted ended up being merged into another one.
That was one, okay, that was one that was always there, well, not always, but has been there for a long time, multicultural, and you put, what was the
Yeah, one was
vitality?
supposed to go
Social
away,
engagement.
and then
Social
it was
engagement.
merged with another.
Yeah, but social engagement had never been there before, and so then, we also have about 3 or 4 of them that really probably are not necessary.
To decide which of those may not future
Then
exist
maybe
in the
we need to
future,
talk
then
about
they would
this.
have to look at the attendance records and if they're even viable.
So we can talk about that at Thursday night?
After we interview people?
No,
Oh, what, the 20th?
the 19th, when we're
We've
meeting.
already posted the agenda, and it's not on the agenda. But you could do that as part of your interviews, though. Typically when you're done with your interviews, y'all have kind of slotted people in, and that, I think you could have discussion at that point. Now, any decisions you make, we would have to bring it back as a resolution anyway for voting. But I think at that point, you could have discussions about whether certain boards you want to even continue or not. Or if you want to start out with that on the Monday night, before you even interview anyone, then we can just keep that in mind and how we set up the interviews.
Yeah, if they
Yeah,
want to
'cause-
interview, then you cut the board.
Right, right, that's what
Yeah,
I was
that's
thinking.
good.
Why would you want to
Yeah.
call them for an interview and then say, you know, we don't need the committee?
Well, it's 6 to 1, half done. We've interviewed you, aren't you?
Well, do you
nice,
got
but
any
now we don't
ideas,
need you.
attorney, on how we
You
can?
could, if you're too far along this year, you could, if you decide that one of the boards or commissions may have questionable validity in this day and age, you could sunset it just so that, and I would hate to bring people in.
Okay, your
just-
no answer. I thought that you had a better idea about like the one that we haven't, I guess we don't have 72 hours to change the agenda.
Yeah, you can't change the agenda unless you had another meeting, which I'm sure you won't.
Then I guess all we can do is talk about it. Monday first and then schedule the ones that were thought
What she's
of
saying
later.
though, is she's already got people scheduled to come while we're talking,
So,
as we start talking.
Yeah, but they're coming at 6, aren't they? I mean, we moved the
Kevin,
meeting
whatever
up to
you all
5.
say.
Have you already made calls to
I have
set up?
not,
No.
that was my
no.
intentions to do that
Oh,
tomorrow.
yeah, so we were waiting till today, but we have not called anyone for interviews, so that's easy to, at this point, to adjust the schedule. And if you want to start at 5, we can just block out that first hour for just your all's general discussion, start interviews after that.
Do the applications have anything, first choice, second choice, third choice?
Yeah.
So
but-
maybe when you do the interviews, if you're seriously contemplating on taking one of the commissions away, you would ask those people when you interview them, if this commission's not available to you, would you consider serving on another one?
But that's not the problem. The problem is that which ones that go away. I think that probably a rule of thumb would be to look at the ones that have always been there, like P and Z and Board of Adjustments and Library Board and Park Board, the ones that were always there. It was some of those made-up ones that were later.
You have some that are required either through charter, ordinance, or state law, like Board of Adjustment, building standards, P and Z,
That's what I just said.
Eco-Devo,
Yeah.
and.
But I think, but as Bob was saying though, if there are some that you have consensus that you don't, are probably gonna sunset it, when you're interviewing those people, whether it's a reappointment or if they have designated it as a choice, you can ask them if we are considering that we might do away with some boards. If this board goes away, would you be willing to serve on another board, and if so, which one? So you don't have to tell them you are, but you can then find out from them if they're willing to serve on something else and consider that.
You sure
part
could
of
do
it.
some, you sure could do some pre-work with that and send to every council member all of the boards, and then consensus, if everyone started saying no, yes, you send that back out to us, and we've already kind of made some decisions before we got here, versus getting here and all of us trying to talk through it, all those board commissions.
No,
You can't conduct business on email.
Yeah, that you got
Can't do
an
that.
open meeting issue, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that would
But you
be
can do
more
that
efficient.
at that meeting, you can build some consensus.
It ain't Wells Fargo.
I have
Or AT&T.
for those that are being reappointed, that, I have a thought that we can bring them in as a committee. And we can talk to them as a committee so that we're not, if they can, all come together at the same time. So that we don't waste their time and our time.
Well, what I don't know is when do we look at all of them that are not required by statute or whatever, that we would consider abolishing? When do we do that?
Well, that's what we were talking about. I guess
know,
at that
we
5
haven't
o'clock.
Settled on that.
5 o'clock Monday?
5 o'clock,
5 Monday.
yeah, but I wouldn't call a whole board in together.
You know, when you got 12 people on the KDB board, it's a lot nicer to just, you know, and we know them and make face contact, introduce ourselves to them, do some chit chat, and that's a 15-minute talk rather than 10 minutes times 20.
But they stand alone, they don't stand as a committee.
Yeah, they work together.
So
Except they're
an email can be sent to us with a listing of all optional boards, commissions, committees. Kevin can send us that, we can have that beforehand, when we meet at 5 o'clock on the 23rd, those are the ones we talk about and move on. Okay?
Tell me that again.
Yeah, give us the list of the optional boards, committees, commissions that we can look at beforehand, before 5 o'clock on the 23rd, so we'll know which ones that we're gonna be considering. We don't have to think about it. And then we can already have some of our minds made up by the time we get here in terms of which ones we want to talk about, given sunset. Okay? That work?
And then we will start interviews, scheduling interviews for 6 o'clock on Monday and then 5 o'clock on the other 2 days.
Work. Okay.
Were there any or other things on the calendar?
If we could, I'd like to skip to the retreat. And I did a little research. I know that it's typically held in the fall, just let you go that arrow, right? Okay. This is a possible location. I'm going to move through this very quickly because of time. This Lakeview camp is in Maypearl, Texas. It would take you about 35 to 45 minutes to get there from here. This is a view of the lake at the campground, just past Waxahachie, so that you figure out you're going down I-35. Now here's the kick. The camp is very, very busy in terms of hosting a lot of activities, and right now the only dates they have available are the 18 to 20 October, which is the same date as Barbecue and Blues. So if, before I even go any further, do we want to deconflict this and dump these dates, or do we want to consider these dates because of conflict with Barbecue and Blues? If you want to consider 18 to 20,
Well, we've had it conflict before, a retreat, and I just remember it not, there being some regret. The council wasn't able to be at the barbecue release.
Well, you know, is this a place you're familiar with?
yes.
I'm up for a new place.
I would say change the date. If we're having something major in the city, if it goes forward.
Fine,
We
okay,
didn't beat 'em.
we're done, it's over. How do you kill it?
You can't do it any other day. You can't do it
Then,
any other day there.
Staff will look for some other dates.
Some other place.
Okay.
Are there dates that y'all want to look at now that we can start checking?
They have any in the summer?
Pardon?
Did they have any in the summer?
They're totally booked, all the way through December. They have those 3 days available.
And that's through this calendar year? Did you ask them what the calendar year?
No, it didn't go past January, it goes past December.
Well, you don't have a mansion somewhere we can go to? You laughing?
You want me to look at, you want
Well,
to defer the retreat until 2019? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
Didn't
Yeah,
consider.
I don't know. Y'all typically met your retreat in the fall, October timeframe. Looking at the calendar right now, I would say the only weekends that you have in October are the 5th and 6th, or the 26th and
26,
27th.
27.
But if one of those weekends, one of those dates looks best to everyone, then at least we have some dates and we can start looking at some optional locations. If you're willing to look at after the first of the year, then maybe the mayor can check with that place to see if that's open, and then at least then you have some options to consider. But the longer we go into the year, the less likelihood we're gonna be able to find a place too, so.
I think we stick to October 26th, 27th would be good.
Well, let's see.
Okay, in the interest of time, let's make it 26, 27 tentatively. Y'all check the calendars and give some feedback on whether you can lock that down or not. Okay. What else is major on calendar, or can we move on? We're at 20 after 7 already, and we're into a major piece of work right here.
Could this not be discussed? Could you move this to the regular agenda?
I'm sorry. I
Could we
can't-
move this to the regular agenda? I don't remember if we can.
It's not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda. So we can just open it, pursue it, or defer it, table it until the next meeting.
You can move to the next one.
Okay. Table this one. Okay, so that puts us moving into our regular session. And the decision then would be, do we do executive session now and then proceed with the regular meeting, or postpone the executive session?
I think we postpone the executive session.
I think you do executive session now. So if they go out there, we're through.
I think we have a whole, I think we have people waiting out there, so I'm
Yeah, we-
saying,
Well, they can come in here, it's televised. They're watching us right now.
right, I'm still saying, instead of having guests waiting out there, we need to go to our meeting.
Can we do your thing, then do executive session?
I'm fine with that.
Instead of holding up all the guests that have come for Mark's swearing in? That's what, it's the reception in his family. So, y'all good with that? Okay, what? All right, so we're gonna adjourn, working session at 7:20. Yes, sir?
Are we moving this to the end of the meeting, the executive session to the end, or?
No, we're gonna do Mark's swearing in and the reception, and then we're going to executive session.
Okay, so you need to recess this meeting, not adjourn it.
We're not gonna discuss anything else at the working session, no. We're going into the regular meeting after
Because you
that.
still have executive session.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, so we're recessing this at 7:20.
This portion of the meeting.
Okay, we're gonna do Mark's swearing in and the reception. Well, we have to call that meeting to order.
Right.
Then I'm gonna recess that one, and then we're gonna come back in here after that.
Yes, sir.
Calling the meeting to order, 7:26 PM, Tuesday, July 17th, 2018, Duncanville City Council. Thank you again for your patience. We're going to modify the agenda order somewhat because of a very special event that we have going on tonight. It's one of those bittersweet types of events. Dr. Ronald Dotson is leaving our city council, and Mr. Mark Cooks is coming on to our city council. So the first thing that we want to do, I got to stick to the agenda here. First, we have the invocation by Pastor Robert Winters of New Program Rest Baptist Church. Pastor Winters. Yes, sir. All rise, please.
Shall we pray? Eternal God, our Father, how we thank you for your loving kindness and your tender mercies. We thank you for your grace and how you have kept us, even up to this present moment. We invoke now your presence upon our meeting. Pray your blessings upon all who have come. And now, Lord, we lift up before you this council, old and newly elected. We pray and thank you for their commitment to serve the citizens of this city. And we pray, oh God, that their coming together never be in vain, that they always have at their forefront the betterment of making this one of the greatest cities to live in. We love you, we adore you, and we praise your holy name. We thank you again, oh God, for all that you have done. And we pray this prayer in Jesus' name. All the people said, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee. Texas one, under God, one and indivisible.
It's not even on. Okay, we're going to proceed with swearing in Mark Cooks, and his son, Judge, will come and do that, and we'll come.
Desmond Cooks, thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening.
What an exciting day for me and the family, and I want to thank, first of all, the judge. I say that because I don't take that very lightly, that my son, my oldest son, being the judge of Dallas County, to come and to swear his father in. I don't think that's I think that's a very special occasion. So, Judge, thank you very much, and I really appreciate it, especially bringing my granddaughter. Secondly, I want to thank the citizens of Duncanville. And first, I probably should thank, let me back up and thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. All right. Because had it not been for him, none of us would be here today. So I want to acknowledge that, and I'll always acknowledge that. But then secondly, I want to thank my family who has been by my side through all of the calling and knocking on doors and giving them a hard time and calling all of their friends. And so I want to thank my family, my sisters. Would you guys stand for just a second? My 3 siblings. These are my 3. This is the backbone of Mark Cooks. And these 3 ladies, are my oldest sisters, and I'm very proud of them as well. And we're all proud because we are siblings of Georgia May Cooks, who's deceased, but we know that we live and we go by what our mothers taught all of us to be good citizens of our city and our state. Thank you very much. Well, the other person I want to recognize today is the gentleman that made me walk out about 3 pairs of shoes, and that's Jeff Burden. Jeff Burden was I don't want to call him my opponent because Jeff Burden and I tried to knock on everyone's doors to increase voter participation in the city of Duncanville for District 4. And I think we did that. We did that because we wanted to make everybody aware that we wanted our city to be better than any other city in this country and in this state. Jeff, thank you very much. Would you wave your hand, Jeff? Thank you very much for your hard work. You know, many ask, how y'all won by 1 vote. Yes, I won by 1 vote. And I tell you what, Jeff couldn't believe it, I couldn't believe it, and when the judge put it on the door, I said, would you put that back in there again? Because I know I'm in banking, but my math is just not adding up right. But I want to thank each one of you, whether you were the 264 or whether you were the 265 that made 529, thank you very much. Now it's time to go to work. And many ask, how will our city proceed? Our city will proceed just as much as it did in its good days. We've had some good days and we had some bad days. However, I see our city moving forward. That's why when I campaigned, I simply said to you, I care about Duncanville, and I do. Thank you very much for your hard work. Will we always agree? No. When we promise to work together? Yes. It took 1 vote to become the new city council person. But it takes 4 and 5 votes to move our city forward. That's why my pledge is to work with this council. To work with this council that we all can make sure that we are having the better interest of our city to go forward. I want to thank our new mayor. I'm looking forward to working with our new mayor and the new council. I want to thank again each one of you for being here tonight. And so at this point, I want to, if you don't mind, Mayor, if I want to call my family up and ask if we'll take pictures. Is that Brenda I see in the audience? Let me also thank Brenda O'Brien. Brenda, I didn't see you, didn't have my glasses on that far. Thank Brenda O'Brien, who's also got in the race. And I'll tell you that when Brenda got in the race, the first thing I did was to call Brenda and say, Brenda, congratulations. Thank you very much for caring for our city. But as my family come up for just a second for just one picture, I know a couple of my family members hate being on Facebook, so sorry. They may duck, you may see them hiding, but just come on up, just one little picture, Ms. Price. That would be great. But as they come up, I do want to recognize a few people, and I don't want to get in trouble by naming all of the names, but I do want to tell you that Renette Ellis Chambers has been a very instrumental part in this campaign. And not only her, Bobby Roddy has been very instrumental in this campaign. Betty Corbett has been very instrumental in this campaign. So I can't begin to name all of the names, but again, I want to thank you very much for all of the hard work, all of the knocking on doors, and to that one citizen that I just so happened to be at the poll that walked through the door to place that last vote, is not here tonight, but I can't stop hugging him to say thank you very much. So if my family will come up, we'll take a quick photo. And again, after we take a quick photo, those names that I called, if I didn't call you and you knew you supported the team, I'm gonna ask you to come up and take one photo as well. So thank you. And then here's my beautiful grandbaby and my daughter-in-law. Pastor Winters, thank you very much for your wonderful prayer, and to your daughter, to your wife, to your wife, who was side by side with me for many, many days. Thank you, Charlotte Winters, I really appreciate it. Mayor and council, thank you very much, I really appreciate you guys as well.
At this time, I'd like to call Dr. Ronald Dotson forward, our departing council member. Well, as I said, Dr. Dotson, it's a bittersweet moment. You know that a lot of babies are still depending on you, and you're a very busy guy. But we want to thank you for your service, and I want to give you this plaque to Dr. Ronald Dotson, a recognition of service to the City of Duncanville Council Member District 4, City of Duncanville City Council, July 1st, 2014, June 16th, 2018. Thank you for your service. Congratulations.
Thank you all. I appreciate that. I actually have a little soapbox I want to read before I exit. First of all, I'd like to thank my fellow citizens of District 4 for allowing me to represent them for the last 4 years. It has been an experience that I believe that every citizen should have. It's totally different sitting up here than what you think it would be. It's humbling, it's interesting, some nights more interesting than others. A little aggravating at times, but it gives you an appreciation for your city in a way that is truly hard to express. I found a city staff that I believe work extremely hard and are committed to making Duncanville the best place it can be. They take a lot of unnecessary grief at times, but I, for one, want to thank each of you for all that you do. I also learned that I would never want Mr. Hugman's job. I remember when he came to interview and how impressed we were with all work with him. We knew he was the man for the job, and I still believe that. This is a good, Christian, kind man that came here to try and make Duncanville the best it can be. I respect him fully, and at times I feel like he blames the things he has nothing to do with. He's only been here for 3 years, and I just feel like he came here to make our city better literally dissected with every word or action that he makes. So as for me, Kevin, I'd like to tell you I respect you fully, and hope you're here for many days ahead. In closing, I have a departing prayer for Duncanville. I pray that we as a city could all get past the strife, the discontent that has plagued Duncanville for many years. Enter a time where we back our city staff, our city manager, and just see when we all join together what we can really accomplish. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to recess. City Council is 7:41 for reception out in the lobby. And then we'll reconvene back in, the City Council will reconvene back in the briefing rooms for executive session. And the briefing working session is now in recess as a result. So, folks, I hope you can accommodate the flexibility in what we're having to go on our business tonight. Thank you. So, please, have some refreshments.
Mayor, just for the record, we are recessing this session. We'll reconvene our executive session and then reconvene our general session.
I said that.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Dogs would be housed inside, and the closest measurement from the rear yard where they would be is approximately 60 feet. Again, this is the site plan indicating the small area and the large play area for the different size dogs. This is an updated floor plan from the last public hearing that has a little bit more detail, and the applicant can certainly walk you through how they intend to utilize the space. But as previously stated, they do intend to reduce the number of kennels from 30 to 20. Here are some before and in progress photos to show some of the improvements to the property. These photos were actually taken prior to the concrete parking lot and sidewalk being installed, which the applicant property owner has already done as well. The Planning and Zoning Commission did unanimously recommend approval with a number of conditions. The purpose of a specific use permit is to add conditions to make the use more appropriate for the surrounding area. And one of those conditions was limiting the time limit to a 1-year time period. And then after that time, the SUP would be up for renewal. It could be an automatic renewal at the discretion of the council, or it could be a renewal that comes back through the public hearing process to allow for further public comment after that 1-year time period. So I just wanted to make note that those conditions that are proposed by the P&Z were thoughtful with regard to how to make the use appropriate for the surrounding area. The applicant is present to answer any questions, and so am I.
For the council and for the citizens, the manner in which we conduct our business can be taken two different directions. By the rules of procedure, we can open the item for discussion and then take a motion, or we can take a motion and then open it for discussion. In this particular case, and maybe other cases as well, we may be better served to have some discussion first to get everyone's opinions and inputs and some thoughts and have some questions. And then at that point, after all the discussion is made, we can go ahead and accept the motion from one of the council members, if that's acceptable to the council. Okay, that being consent by nodding of heads, then we will open the this to some discussion.
Yeah, make sure you want to open the public hearing. It's on as a public hearing, was continued as a public hearing, so you may want additional comments if anyone in the audience has any. You've already had one, but it was continued to tonight, so the public can comment.
I wish I could hear everything you just said, but I kind of get the gist
public
of it.
can
Need
comment.
Open a public hearing.
It's open as a public hearing. The citizens have a right to come forward and offer any testimony.
We need a motion to
for or
open the
against.
public hearing.
No, you can declare it open.
Okay, public hearing is now open at 8:50 p.m.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pamela. My husband is actually outside in the lobby with the baby. Sorry he couldn't be here right now. But we're the owners of 1103 South Main Street. And as Chastity said, we're here requesting the special use permit to allow us to provide boarding and daycare services to the dogs of Duncanville. When we bought this property, it had not been occupied for at least 5 years and was in terrible disrepair. We had the plumbing, electrical, and HVAC completely redone. We had the foundation leveled and a beautiful new concrete parking lot and sidewalk poured. With our own 2 hands, we built a 6-foot picket fence over 200 linear feet. We installed, textured, and painted the drywall throughout the house, laid tile, installed and painted new siding, installed new windows, doors, and insulation, and much, much more. Doing the work ourselves shows attention to detail, our strong work ethic, and commitment to Duncanville. Now, instead of a dilapidated building, there's a beautiful, freshly painted building on Main Street, helping to beautify Duncanville. Countless people have stopped on their walks to express their delight in seeing the building improved. Cars have stopped and pulled in just to ask what we are doing and tell us they are excited about a new business opening, specifically a dog boarding and grooming business. The surrounding business owners are ecstatic to have us as neighbors, and they show their remorse they couldn't be here today to show their support. We want to do our part to help beautify Duncanville and diversify the population and businesses. I'm a member of the Kiowa Indian tribe, and my husband is a Hispanic Afghanistan war veteran. In May, the Planning and Zoning Committee voted unanimously to approve our special use permit with no objections from the community. At the city council meeting in Duncanville, there was one person in opposition to our opening of a veteran-owned, family-operated dog boarding business, and it was the owner of a large franchise dog boarding facility. She raised concerns about the safety of the dogs, such as the sanitation of stacking kennels, no indoor play yards, and our lack of experience. Victor and I are both registered nurses. He works in critical care and I in the ER. Safety and sanitation are the two top priorities of every nurse and hospital in the world. Our priorities will be no different when caring for dogs as opposed to humans. It is common practice in veterinarian offices throughout the nation to stack kennels for boarding purposes. It was stated that there would be a possible risk of urine overflowing even if we used trays in each kennel. I did some math, and it would take approximately 7 gallons to cause the trays to overflow. A healthy dog urinates between 10 and 20 mils per pound per day, and with no dog being above 25 pounds in the top kennels, the most that they would urinate in an entire day is less than half a gallon. An absorbent pad in the tray is more than sufficient to contain any accidents made through the night. Also, the dogs will only be boarded in the kennels at night. They'll be outdoors between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. And of course, all kennels will be sanitized daily. Safety is one of our top priorities, and we know Texas heat can be dangerous for geriatric dogs, puppies, dogs with health conditions, and bradycephalic dogs. All dogs will have at least one break throughout the day, more breaks more often on hotter days, and special attention will be given to the dogs at higher risk of overheating. The parent will always be involved in the plan for the day, and it will be adjusted to their satisfaction. Furthermore, the 8,000 square foot backyard will always have plenty of shade and cool, clean water to drink. Although we will be new to the pet industry, we have experience as RNs that translates well to dog boarding and even grooming. For instance, charting and record keeping are a huge part of a nurse's daily tasks. This will be true for boarding as well. Excellent record keeping skills are needed to ensure each dog is kept up to date on vaccinations so as not to compromise the safety of the others. Thorough charting is also necessary for communicating important information as a reminder to ourselves and other employees about the pets, such as those with allergies or high anxiety. In closing, we ask you to approve our special use permit so that we may provide the best care possible to the dogs of Duncanville. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? I have a couple.
Okay.
You just mentioned that the dogs would be outdoors from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Well, with the breaks inside. So they'll be have access to the outdoor play yard, but in the middle of the day, like on a normal less than 90-degree day, they would have one scheduled break inside from like 12 to 2. And then on hotter days, we would increase the number of breaks so that they don't get overheated outside.
So in general, the animals have the majority of their time outside versus inside.
Right.
Okay. You mentioned there would be adequate shade.
Yes, sir.
In terms of on the property itself, there's only, what is it, one tree inside
On the what?
proximity?
I'm sorry, you say that
On the
again?
property itself, and in terms of back, there's only one tree?
There's those two large trees, if you can see in the bottom right corner. And also all along the back fence, there are trees. So we get the shade when the sun is setting from all those trees along the back fence. And then we get shade from those two large trees on the bottom right corner that shade that whole corner area.
Okay. No other questions? It's a difficult thing for me to say.
Yes, sir.
I do not know the opinions of the rest of the council, so I can only speak for myself, that I do have concerns about the noise level of a healthy dog being outside most of the day, and those dog runs being 60 feet from residences.
The dog runs are 180 feet from the residences. She said the back corner of the yard is 60 feet from the
back corner of the
residence.
yard is
Right.
60 feet.
But
Well,
where the
that's
dogs
a-
will actually be housed is 180 feet.
Can you bring that graphic back up? There it is. So the fence that's going to be constructed for the dog runs is going to be back to that red line, the back proximity, is that correct? Right there. Back one, just the satellite view, with there, right there.
So where the house is, towards the front of the property is where the dogs will be housed, and they're actually gonna be in like the bottom left corner of the house, or the whole bottom half of the house, really. So from there to the apartment buildings.
But when they're outside,
When they're outside, right, there's,
they're going to have free run of the property.
of the backyard, yes.
So that's why I'm taking the closest proximity versus the furthest
Right.
proximity
Okay,
to
yeah.
the residences, to the apartments. And I have concern over that.
Okay.
Simply for the inconvenience or the annoyance of healthy dogs barking. I am in favor of the business in terms of the grooming and whatever necessary boarding for the time that the dog is with you while that service is being performed. I'm not in favor of the boarding, the overnight boarding or the long-term boarding. That's just my personal opinion. So in terms of the overall consideration for this particular SUP, I will be voting not in favor of it, but that's up to the rest of the council to make their own minds up.
Okay, thank you for your
Just
comments.
wanted to be frank and candid with you about that. Any other public comment input? If none, the chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Okay.
My name is Juan Ortiz. I live at 231 Mizell Street right here in Duncanville. I'm a new resident to Duncanville. I do have the privilege of being one of their friends closest to Victor, which is outside with his baby right now. These guys are hardworking people. They brought this property up from the ground, everything that they've built, and on top of that, they're bringing in a new business to this area, which is going to attract some more people. And right now, there is another business that does the same thing on the other side off of 67, and I think they attract more people from Cedar Hill. And if we can do this here in Duncanville, I think that'd be awesome. Like I said, these guys have worked very, very hard. To address your issue about dogs and the noise level, that's one of the things that I love about Duncanville, that I come from Dallas, and over there, it's just crazy with dogs. They're out and about, it's like they're just friendly neighbors, But here, I don't see that, and I like it. It keeps it quiet. I do like your comment because it does address that. But I think that these guys would take that into consideration as well. I know that she said that they would be free roaming throughout the day, but I think if they're given a chance, they would address that issue in the best way that they could, But like I said, it's a new business, and I think it'd be great for Duncanville. So if you guys, thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment from the citizens before we close the public hearing? Chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close.
Have a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please vote. Did you? You wanted? Okay, okay. So please vote. Okay, there we go. All right, the public hearing is closed at 9:01 p.m. If there's no further discussion from city council members, the chair will entertain a motion on this particular SUP.
I'll make a motion to approve the SUP with the condition that they come back in a year, and not the automatic renewal, but a public hearing renewal.
I'd like to second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. The motion failed. Right, the zoning has been denied.
Maybe you could clarify that as far as the grooming portion. It didn't need a SUP.
I believe that's correct, but I'll rely on our planning.
Yeah, I think somebody needs to say that.
Yeah, so so what Councilman Jameson is asking about is there can be dog grooming without the SUP. The SUP was for the kennel portion and the dog care portion after hours. That's what failed. So a grooming facility could be opened at that location.
Do we need clarification of that for the record? Well, I'm not sure the applicant knows that either. Okay, Chastity will explain it. Okay. Okay. Moving on to item number B. Consider a resolution approving an offer of a hotel occupancy tax grant for FY 18-19 budget in the amount of $40,000 to the Duncanville Noon Lions Club 68th Annual Sandra Meadows Classic to directly enhance and promote tourism in the hotel industry, conditional upon approval in the fiscal year 18-19 budget.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Jessica James, Director of Economic Development. I'd first like to start off, obviously we have a number of grants this evening, so first of all, I'll start off this one with the state requirements, and those requirements will obviously fall through each individual item for consideration, but in consideration of time, we won't go through all those for each individual item. First of all, moving on, the city's hotel motel tax revenues are generated from a 7% tax that's generated from the rental on a hotel room here in Duncanville. The local tax is authorized by the state of Texas, and therefore those taxes is restricted. The use of those expenditures, of the funds are restricted, and they must be used according to state law. State law, there's a two-part test for every expenditure. The first, every expenditure must directly enhance and promote tourism and the convention and hotel industry. The second criteria, every expenditure of the hotel occupancy tax must clearly fit into one of the 9 statutorily provided categories for expenditure of the taxes. How does the state of Texas define tourism? As you can see up here, tourism is defined as under Texas law as guiding or managing individuals who are traveling from a different city, county, or state or country. A direct promotion of the convention and hotel industry has been consistently interpreted by the Texas Attorney General as a program, event, or facility likely to cause increased hotel and convention activity. Under state law, as I said just a few minutes ago, criteria 1, first, every expenditure must directly enhance and promote tourism and the convention and hotel industry. Under the tax code, every event, program, or facility funded under the hotel occupancy tax revenues must likely do 2 things, and this is critical. First, directly promote tourism, and secondly, directly promote the convention and hotel industry. meeting criteria 1. There's no statutory formula for determining the level of impact an event must have to satisfy the requirement of directly promoting tourism in the hotel convention industry. However, the Texas Hotel Lodging Association's opinion, which they work very closely with the state of Texas to ensure that the cities and third parties are utilizing the taxes according to law, their opinion states that communities with successful tourism promotion programs generally award the amount of hotel occupancy tax by the proportionate impact on tourism and hotel activity in accordance with the funding request. Entities applying for hotel occupancy tax revenue funding should indicate how they will market the event to attract tourists and hotel guests. Again, it's about putting heads in beds and not just, unfortunately, local visitors. If an entity does not adequately market its events to tourists and hotel guests, obviously it's difficult to produce or promote the event or the facility and actively promote it to tourism and increase hotel activity. State law 2, criteria 2, every expenditure of the hotel occupancy tax must clearly fit into one of the categories, as I said earlier. And here are the 9 categories that those funds must fit into. And this is all funds have to fit into one of these categories. First, funding the establishment, improvement, or maintenance of a convention center or visitor information center. The City Council already contracts, as you know, for an example, with the Duncanville Chamber of Commerce and for the visitor center. 2, paying the administration cost for facilitating a convention registration. 3, paying for advertising, solicitations, and promotions that attract tourists and convention delegates to the city or its vicinity, such as advertising in the Texas highways or some publication or internet website that attracts tourists to the area. 4, expenditures that promote the arts. Texas law still requires that the arts-related expenditure also directly promote tourism and the hotel and convention industry. In order to comply with the hotel occupancy tax statute, the Texas Hotel Lodging Association and the Texans for Fine Arts agreed that to be eligible for municipal arts funding with hot revenues, recipients must satisfy the following requirements. The receipts presents, performs, promotes, encourages, or otherwise makes possible artistic events. You can see up there the different, it can involve everything from performances to exhibitions to lectures, exhibits, all forms of art. Second, the hotel occupancy tax fund programs and events are advertised and open to the general public, again, promoting tourism and bringing people from outside the community. C, the recipient directly enhances and promotes tourism and the convention and hotel industry, again, putting heads in beds and not just local attractions. 5, funding historical restoration or preservation programs. 6, funding certain expenses, including promotional expenses directly related to sporting events within counties with a population of fewer than 1 million. 7, funding of enhancement or upgrading of an existing sports facility or sports fields for certain municipalities. 8, funding transportation systems for tourists, so that can be used such as bus systems or anything like that to get visitors from or guests from hotels to the different venues. And 9, signage directing tourists to sites and attractions that are visited frequently by hotel guests in the municipality. So this is also known as directional signage that you see in other communities. And that will be a venture that we will be looking at in the near future. So the request from the Duncanville Lions Club for the Sandra Meadows basketball tournament, their amount requested, as we talked about in the briefing session, in the budget workshop, I apologize, is $40,000. They were previously awarded for both FY 16-17 as well as 17-18, $40,000. And here's an event summary of the information that they provided to me. It's a 3-day event. The total number of expected attendees is 5,000. They estimated the out-of-town guests to be about 4,500. The number of hotel rooms that they expect to rent this year is 400, and the number of rooms rented last year was 389. Funding requests, the $40,000 will be used to primarily to offset the rental of Duncanville hotel rooms and the additional costs associated with hosting the event. The estimated rate of return, or ROI, is 68.75%, and this was figured only on the food and the miscellaneous expenses, since the grant actually does pay for the hotel room, so that was not figured into the ROI. So basically what that means is for every dollar spent by the city gets back, basically it generates 1.69 cents, so $1.69. With that, I will answer any questions, and also the applicant is here this evening to do a small presentation to answer any questions directly that you have for them.
Thank you.
Okay.
The applicant, please.
Can I ask the applicant to come forward?
Good evening, Mayor Gordon, council members, Mr. Hugman. I'm not Steve Martin, but I'm standing here in his place. I'm Mike Kreitzberg with the Duncanville New Lions Club. We are requesting, this is the 68th annual Sandra Meadows Classic basketball tournament, formerly known as the SWA. It's an event that we look forward to every year. It's an opportunity for us as a club to support our youth, their athletic talents, but in turn also to bring in high-quality competition for our own Duncanville Pantherettes, keeping in mind that the majority of teams that come are from a distance in-state, out-of-state, and in past at times internationally. So this is a well-run event supported by the community, and we feel that it does benefit the city as a whole. And with the granting of these hotel occupancy tax funds will allow us to continue to attract majority of the spectators coming from out of town and spending their time and money in Duncanville.
Any comments, questions from council? Just to make sure I'm clear in terms of that ROI, the grant pays for the rental of the hotel rooms for the teams?
Yes, for the teams, yes, not for their families, no.
So that provides for an incentive for the teams to
Yes,
come
they bring,
to us.
some of these schools bring a large support group with them, and so thus they are also renting hotel rooms as well.
Okay, all right.
Move to approve.
I have a question first. Lights on. Put your light on.
Second.
Did it come on?
No. Go ahead, I'm not seeing it, your light is
Yeah,
on.
but, I'm sorry, Mike, could you come back up for me a second? Thank you, sorry. Didn't see my light, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Would you share, looks like 2016, it was 38, 2017 is 40,000, and then you're asking for 40,000?
40,000 again this year,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. And 30% of the proceeds that the city is sponsoring is 30% of your sponsorship. Where's the other percentage?
It's entry fees and other sponsorships, companies, organizations, but entry fees as well from the teams.
All right, thank you.
And also from the school district as well. They do support.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Well,
Mayor Gordon, excuse me, I want to make sure that everyone understands if, I think we have some of our members of the council are members of the Lions Club. If they're just members, they may participate in the discussion and the vote. If any of them were on the board of directors, since you are in fact board of directors, they would be interlocking board of directors, and it would be inappropriate for them to participate. I think, if you recall back, Councilman Rutherford served in both capacities at one time and was recused, but if anyone's just a member of the Lions Club, they may participate.
okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jameson, my lights are not working here.
I don't have my light on.
Go ahead, turn it on.
Your mic light is on. So I'm having to go visual because this panel's not working. I know, but Mark didn't come on. Neither, okay. All right, okay, there is a motion to approve.
Just for clarification, if you'll notice, your ordinance in your packets has the amount. So I need the amount that you want to approve and for what purposes. Because we
I
didn't.
move that we approve the resolution for the hotel occupancy tax grant for the Duncanville Noon Lions Club 68th Annual Sandra Meadows Classic for $40,000.
Second, Leslie Thomas.
We have a motion and a second, please
And-
vote.
Okay, and the next thing was the purpose of the use of the funds, and I suppose that it would be for to hold the event and the cost related to holding the event and the hotel rooms.
It says directly enhance and promote tourism in the hotel industry conditional upon approval.
Thank you.
And I vote that we approve it.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Please vote. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. There we go. Okay, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Council. I'd also like to clarify a couple things as well, that all the applicants that are granted any type of funding from council will sign in an agreement per the form of the city attorney as stated on your staff report. And so I just wanted to be clear on that as well.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number C, consider a resolution approving an offer of a hotel occupancy tax grant for the fiscal year 18-19 budget in the amount of $45,000 to the Duncanville Noon Lions Club Smoke and Blues and Barbecue Festival to directly enhance and promote tourism and the hotel industry, conditional upon approval in the fiscal year 18-19 budget.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Again, as I just mentioned earlier, I won't go through these all again, but the same requirements by law pertain to each individual request. So what I'll do is I'll just skip to the actual overview of the event itself. So the Noon Lions Club has requested $45,000 for the Smoke and Blues and Barbecue Festival. In FY 16-17, they did not request any funding, so that's why it says NA. In 17-18, they requested $37,000, and that's what they are awarded. It is a two-day event. They estimate that the number of out-of-town attendees is expected to be about 3,500, and that does come from their estimation. And the total number of attendees expected to attend the event is a total of 5,000. The number of hotel rooms expected to be rented is between 40 and 50. And then this year, the number of hotel rooms rented for this past event was 15. I do want to clarify that they did have some additional rooms that was a carryover from their event. They did have some judges come to town at a later date and participate in some training, and so they had some additional rooms at that point, and they will go into that, I'm sure, when they make their presentation. The funding is requested for $20,000 for advertising, solicitations, promotional programs to attract tourists and convention delegates, and then $25,000 for the promotion of the arts. And this is those things associated with the bands and those events that go to cover the bands. The estimated rate of return, or ROI, is a negative 12.05%. And I don't want the council to be alarmed. All that means is that for every dollar spent, the council will get 88 cents back. So when we look at a big picture, it's a great event for the community, but I just want to clarify that number for you. So at this time, we do obviously have a full house and number of guests here, and the applicant will come forth and provide you more information.
Thank you.
Joe Kyle from 422 Morning Dove Drive sometimes, and the other time 321 Admiral Drive in Gun Barrel City. Duncanville Lions Clubs present the KCBS Barbecue and Blues Festival. I've got basically 5 minutes to go through this. I'm going to go very quickly. really what we're doing is we're creating an event. We've already got the Italian sister city next year coming to our 2019 event. We're planning 2019 as we're doing 2018. We found out we have to be a year in advance to make this work properly. This year, the 19th and 20th at Armstrong Park. Last year, these were some of our sponsors in the area. This year includes 2018 two-day musical festival.
Could you go back to that? Let's take a look at those sponsors, please.
Sponsors.
Yeah, just give us a second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that something from Fort Worth over there in the corner? Fort Worth what?
That's the Fort Worth Spring Printers. They did our T-shirts last year. Another question?
Thank you.
All right. This year, there's an antique car show that's not on here, along with a two-day music festival, KCBS sanctioned barbecue cook-off, 50-plus arts and craft vendors, variety of food vendors, VIP tent, children's zone, and activities. Ticket costs are $10. Children under 12 are free. Food vendors, a wide selection of food and barbecue, not just barbecue. I said food and beverages, not just barbecue. Art and craft vendors, this is Duncan Switch on steroids. We have 50-plus pads that focus on artists, craftsmen, and local businesses. Romans will be handing our beverages, children's activities.
Well, give us a second. Go back, please.
Okay. I'll read it if you'd like. I was told to do all of this in 300 seconds. I'm trying to comply.
That's fine. Thank you.
Back to the children's activities. We have 2 kids cook-offs. We have a children's play zone. We have a children's bounce houses, slides, face painting. I'm actually going to ask if you're interested in a live petting zoo. I need $1,250 extra dollars. We're going to do a free eye exam and glasses for any in financial need for a flat fee of $15, with children being seen first. We're going to have our spot machine on site, and this will detect lazy eye. This is designed to work with children from 6 months to 6 years of age in a non-contact, non-threatening manner by licensed spot check machine operators. Rotary Club will be on site promoting our flag program, which enhances our community, as well as putting them out around the city for the event. Kansas City Barbecue Society. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting and enjoying barbecue. It's the world's largest organization of barbecue grilling enthusiasts with over 20,000 members worldwide. KCBS sanctions 500-plus barbecue contests worldwide each year, and Duncanville, Texas will be one of those, and this is our 2nd year. KCBS recognized as the best. All judges have graduated from a KCBS certified school. I went to Mississippi to attend school. Very strict and tested set of guidelines. Again, KCBS is recognized worldwide. Winners here can qualify for up to $10,000 plus state, plus national, plus a world championship invitation. This is a big deal for big-time cookers. Economic impact for 2018. I already have a list of 112 KCBS representatives and barbecue judges that want to come to Duncanville and spend 2 days. These will be using our hotels, our restaurants, and sightseeing. 32 of them are from North Texas, 44 from around the state, 36 out of state, including 1 from Australia. Plus, we have 47 barbecue teams we can host. One's already coming from the Netherlands. Each team will consist of around 4 members, plus they may bring their families. They're here for 2 to 3 days. They use our grocery stores, our fuel, and they explore our city. Music Festival, Friday night. That's our blues side. We've got locals, which is Andrew Junior Boy Jones and Carrie Lepi, hosting an all-star charity blues event of about 30 artists. Saturday's music is a variety of styles to fit varied taste. JB and the Zydeco Posse is a down-to-earth party music, let the good times roll Zydeco band. They'll start us off. Then from Fort Worth, we're bringing back Larry Lampkin, who is his own soulful, funky rock blues style. Rock and blues sound with Allie Marie Venable is an American blues rock guitar player, singer, and songwriter. She's from East Texas. She's won several contests in the last few years, and her band's the 2015 and the 2016 Blues Band of the Year. Out of Kilgore, Texas, a real millennial at 19 years of age, and demonstrates a talent that's way beyond her years. That evening, blues, jazz, funk, and country with our Texas native Beth Garner. She has been to Europe. She has gone on tour of England, Wales. She placed number 3 in the American Euro charts. She moved to Tennessee in 2007, spent 3 months on tour with a Russian band called the Red Elvises, where they played to a sold-out venue coast to coast, and she is a sideman guitarist. And the headliners. This is something we're really proud of. The Peterson brothers are youngsters. They're 18 and 21 that have been touring the United States for the last few years. They've opened for Gary Clark Jr., Robert Randolph and the Family Band, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Buddy Guy, and the late B.B. King, and other great musicals. They have been touring blues festivals all across the United States. They are the hottest thing going, and everyone who writes about them gives wonderful accolades, and I won't read them, but every week they sell sold-out venue in the Austin's famed music hall, the Continental Club, and they're going to come visit us that Saturday night. And there's pages of things about them. They are, I think, going to set the world on fire with their electric style. Okay. $27,373 direct cost to provide the music, the sound, the lighting, and the staging. And that's with all the updated everything from all the contracts. I have to execute these contracts tomorrow or we lose our venue. These artists have been on a verbal hold for months. Impact to smoking blues and barbecue. We have worldwide marketing. KCBS is already bringing us people from Australia and the Netherlands. This year we'll begin marketing on November 1 for 2019. Statewide focus, we have sent marketing information to AAA Texas, Texas Monthly, Travel Host Dallas Metroplex, Dallas Morning News, just to name a few. North Texas area sales and marketing. KNON Radio has a 120,000 listening audience over a 4-week period. We will be running 120 ads. The Downtown Business News, and I can provide you copies. There's already an ad in it this month. It has a 50,000 readership, and we're going to be in it for 3 months. Southwest Now magazine will cover 50,000 homes in our local areas. That doesn't include other newspaper, internet, mailers, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That is our North Texas marketing area. Specifically, $8,000 will go to a year-round marketing website and national publications so that we can start working on 2019 as well as do 2018. KNON Radio with 120,000 listeners is going to cost us $800. Print, signs, wristbands, banners, advertising, $1,900. The Downtown Business News, $1,650. Southwest Now Magazine, $950. Mailers at $1,500, and additional advertising, publication, social media cost, $18,800. Yes, I've gone over the original amount we asked for, but I got very specific quotes now. If you would love to have the ticket come and do an on-site broadcast for an additional $5,000, they'll come. That brings it up to $23,800. These events clearly create tourism. The music festival will continue to grow as a signature destination event and entice folks to take a vacation to Duncanville and enjoy our entertainment. KCBS barbecue quickly puts folks in the hotels, adds to our economy, and puts Duncanville on the world map. I'm closing and asking you for your support in the Signature Festival, and thank you for your consideration. There's the recap monetarily again. Oh, I've invited Governor Greg Abbott to give out the Grand Championship Barbecue Trophy.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions? Mr. Cooks?
Would you go back again on the beer and wine? Is that only the liquor that you're serving is beer and wine, or is there any other?
We will only have beer and wine. It'll be served from one location. It'll be with Julian, who owns Roma's, and we're going to have it very close to the VIP tent, where we estimate 80% of it is consumed. I'm trying to be honest. That's.
So is that given? How's that controlled? Is that controlled by?
We will have basically 100 volunteers on site when the event is open, anytime it's open. Our CLPs are coming in to assist us. We'll have 2 uniformed officers on the premises during the event when it's open.
Okay. All right, you have 40, I know 45% of the budget is coming from your request tonight. Is that right? Is that right?
Wait, say that again?
45% of the cost of the event is what you're requesting from the city.
Well, I've already lost it. Go to the right. Oh. Okay, what we're asking for?
Yes.
That would cover the advertising, and it would cover the music and the cost of hosting those folks. The rest of it, everything else on the grounds, is our expense.
Okay, so 45%.
And we're still working on what those expenses are. We really don't know. We know we have to buy a fence. We know we have to put up a VIP tent. We're going to have to pay for security. There's a long list. And I only came into this 3 weeks ago to make this presentation, so I'm still digging through the books from last year.
Okay. So again, it goes back to the 40, so it sounds like 45% of the cost is what you're requesting from the city, of that 40,000.
That's
what I'm reading. Okay.
I'm assuming this is going to run us about $75,000 to $80,000 to put it on. And we're trying to advertise way outside of this market.
Okay, so if you're asking, your request tonight is 45,000, which is more than the last funder of 60. How many years?
We had 37 last year. We did absolutely zero advertising last year outside of the local market. That doesn't put heads in motel rooms. So we're learning to reach out and try to bring in folks. Let me get to my overcap. So we're trying to reach out statewide as well as adjacent cities. And KCBS is helping us do it worldwide, and that doesn't cost us a penny. That's just with our association. Now, we pay KCBS reps to come, and we fund a lot of that. But we hope most of that will be funded out of the barbecue expenses.
All right.
Otherwise, that's a direct expense to us. We lost $2,700 on our barbecue event last year.
I noticed you mentioned a lot of the contracts, that's businesses that are going to be doing things in Duncanville. Are any of these businesses you're using within Duncanville?
If there's any business that can provide what we're looking for, they're in Duncanville, like Roma's.
Is that the only one?
No, we're getting printing locally. The trophies were coming locally. Those are pretty much for sure.
Yeah, I would love to see the number that we're giving back to our local businesses in Duncanville to help our business in Duncanville.
That's a good point, and I will start working on that as we move forward to 2019 for sure.
What goals are you looking? I'm sorry. What goals are you looking for to increase your sponsorship funding that perhaps may at some point reduce the amount that you're asking for support over the next 2 years, if you want that for?
most of the support for festivals like this come from very large businesses. They tend to be very alcohol related. We have really not gone after those very skillfully at this point in time.
I didn't know, there was one, there was a whiskey something, what was that, did I say? Was that a?
Go back to the slide with the sponsorships on it.
Oh, that's
Jack Daniel's World Championship.
Jack Daniels, yeah.
Jack Daniel's sponsors the World Championship for all the barbecuers around the world.
Okay.
And that's their sponsorship, and there's $30,000 to $50,000 payout involved in that. So all of these people are coming to our event trying to earn points and state championship and regional championship wins to get an invitation to the Jack Daniels. And they sponsor, again, the big alcohol people do sponsor some of the big barbecue things.
Is there any insurance that you're required to hold? with
Yes,
this
and
event?
you
Can
have a
share?
copy of our insurance
Okay.
in your packet.
All right. And I think one of the last questions I may have, when you think about the Great American Shootout, the receipts of the hotels, I notice you have the number of people that are staying in our hotels. Will you be able to provide receipts or something to us that people are actually staying, putting heads in beds of our hotels?
Last year, we did not track that very well, I'll be honest. We know that we verified 15 rooms that were paid for. This year, I have music contracts that require them to stay in our hotels. So we're tying it down. KCBS folks will stay in Duncanville, and every judge has been mailed a list of our 6 choices and 1 under construction, and we're even telling them about 2019 already. So they're going to be promoted to come and stay. Judges come and stay for several days. When I judge in an event, I have to show up the day of. We have events that night and all day the following day, so I'll sometimes stay 2 nights. So we're providing them with visitors packets. They need to know where our grocery stores are. They want to know. That's very specific for the cookers as well. They show up and they want to know where are your grocery stores, anything close by the kids and the wife can go see. The families can go out, and we're providing that information, and it's coming from the chamber.
I would love to hear the hotels tell us very similar, and I say us because I've heard it before, tell us very similar that the Smoking Blues event is a Christmas event for them, but for people staying at our hotels. And so I'd love to hear that.
Well, this
story
week
in the-
I have
in the
had a
future.
conversation with every manager, and I will tell you that 3 hotels don't have rooms.
Okay.
The Hilton is totally sold out to the Potter's House, and they've already pre-booked the hotel for the weekend. And I'm having to tell my KCBS judges they won't be staying in the Hilton Garden Inn. So we're going to have Plan B.
Okay.
But we have some other very nice hotels.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Thomas, you have a comment?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to support the $56,173, and this is the reason why. This is I'm looking out, and I'm seeing the heart of Duncanville. I'm seeing men and women who if you say, please let us do a 4th of July parade, they're there in the morning, setting up the barricades, manning the barricades, taking down the barricades, routing the traffic, the Christmas parades, anything volunteer, they're there. And for years, I'm thinking about 10 years, we've been wanting festivals in Duncanville, but no one would do it. So the Lions Club, they stepped forward, and they're doing a festival. Well, it may not be the kind of festival everyone else does, but it's a festival, and there's a huge amount of people in the city that support it. It's their 3rd year, and they have done an outstanding job getting, the 2nd year to get the Kansas City barbecue people to come sponsor this is a really big deal. And for them to go out and put the time and effort it is to bring this festival together, the bands that they're bringing in, the talent, they're really trying to. I don't know if people realize the monumental event that that the people are putting, the monumental energy and the monumental event that will happen and the momentum that it will carry forward. So for the and I'm sorry, I wasn't planning on speaking, so I'm talking off the cuff, but the extra $5,000 to have live on the radio as you go, talking on the radio, will bring in people from all over the area. They'll hear it and they say, "Oh, that's going on in Duncanville," and they'll come here. And what we need to do as a city council is be the people of yes. Yes, we can do this. Come on. Yes, we can do this. It's only $5,000 more, and yes, we can do this. Let's be the city of yes and not the city of no. Let's get in there and give our best effort to these people who are proven volunteers. They've proven that they've bringing it up to the next level, and they want to get to the next level. Let's give them this opportunity to do that. Anyway, I'm going to be supporting the $56,173, and I hope that it passes the rest of the council.
I think there's,
$56,100.
but they're only asking for 45.
No.
In order for that to happen.
No, that was his original one, but he has gotten the other contracts in, and it's come to $56,173.
What is the dollar amount on the formal application?
40. Or 45, I'm sorry,
The-
it's
the
45.
amount-
Okay, I didn't
the
see
amount
that.
as
So
it
I
stands-
support the $51,173.
Okay, that's my point. The original application, as it stands right now, the Lions Club is asked for $45,000. If there's any additional monies that the council wishes to add to that request, there's gonna have to be some motions made to amend their application. If, I'll stand corrected unless some policy and procedure needs to come into play, but right now, they're asking for 45,000. That's what's before the council. Now, when Mr. Kyle presented these augmentations to
In the last 3
request,
weeks, we have gotten
those were-
specific
Those are anecdotal.
quotes from,
Those are possible and they're anecdotal, but right now, the request before us is $45,000, and that's what we need to move on.
Well, I make the motion, Mayor, that we approve the resolution of the hotel occupancy tax in the amount of $51,173 to the Duncanville Lions Club Smoke and Blues and Barbecue Festival to directly enhance and promote tourism in the hotel industry, conditional upon approval, anyway, for this budget, by this council.
And just for purposes of clarification, that included for advertising and
For advertising and for the music and soundstage.
Thank you.
And the ticket. $5,000 for the ticket.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, other discussion,
It's not
other
showing
discussion.
up.
Councilman Thomas, I don't totally respect your request and totally respect the Lions Club is here and support what they're trying to do to bring to our city. Of course, as I look at dollars, I still want to stay with the $45,000. Number one, that's what the questioning for me was, it was 40% of the total revenue of the asking right now. So I would like to stick with, I want to support this. I really do want to support it. But I want to support it with what you brought to us and not adding to. And then for you to, of course, that'll encourage you to go out and get other sponsors for the event as well. That'll make it even bigger and better. Then next year, as we see it grows, then we look at it again. But I would definitely stay, I really like to support that $45,000.
The motion that we have before us
I know.
is for $51,173.
Yeah, and I understand, and that's why I'm making my plea to say, I want to support it at $45,000. And so I hear Councilman Leslie and Councilman Swartz' motion and second, but do know, I want to support
may I respond?
this event. Yes, you sure can.
Any major additional monies we bring into this, it's either going to be set back as seed money for 2019, because we have to fund this a year in advance for it to work, because our money does not show up until our event is over. And everything else that's left over goes to our charities. And if you haven't seen our videos, most of it goes to the special needs camp in Kerrville for underprivileged children who would not be allowed to go to camp in any other fashion. So a lot of our money as it comes in, and we probably wouldn't put it into the event this year if we don't have to. I think we have a viable event. The key is, do you want somebody like the ticket, which goes out several hundred miles and trying to bring people in? And that's just a yes/no answer.
Yeah, and I would beg of you again to go with your first. I mean, you did a lot of research already.
We've done a
And
ton.
Had you not put in the 45,000, had your request been 51,000, then I'd had some chance to look at it even more so. But your request is for 45,000 for a particular
Well, I
reason.
signed the request. I showed up on the day they said, this is your last day to do it, and I said, yes, I'm in charge now, and I signed the form. So
Yeah, so
that's what was officially asked for.
Right, and that's why I can support what you officially asked for.
I need to interject. I inadvertently omitted calling a citizen up that submitted a card that wanted to speak on this issue. Tamara Johnson.
She had to leave.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Okay. My apologies. It got stuck behind the other cards and I missed it. Okay. Any further discussion on part of council? The motion before us is an amended dollar amount of $51,173.
Question, Mayor, again. So on the amendment, if the amendment does not pass, no, I thought you made an amendment because it has.
It really wasn't an
You made an
Well,
motion. There's no amendment.
You made the motion, but you made a motion on the larger amount and not the request. So if the motion has to be made, that's an amendment to, okay, so this, all right. So I'll make an amendment to the motion that we retain the 45,000 of the original request.
That puts two different dollar
Yeah,
amounts before the council.
plus
We
you
can't
can't do
vote
two
on
motions on the
dollar
same
amounts
item.
at one
Is that
time.
right, council?
Mayor, he's made a motion to amend the primary motion. It needs a second.
It has been seconded.
No, not her motion. Let's start over. Leslie made a motion. Ms. Thomas made a motion, seconded by Councilmember Schwartz. That's
Right.
the motion that's before the body.
Exactly.
Now, Mr. Cooks has made an amendment, or a motion to amend that motion.
Now we vote on the amendment.
No, it needs a second.
I second.
Now it's seconded. Now you're going to vote on the amendment.
Now we vote on the amendment, which is 45,000.
Correct.
All right, all in favor of amending the motion of 51,173 to 45,000, please vote in favor or against the motion of amending it to 45,000. The motion to amend to 45,000 has passed.
Correct. Now
Now we
you
go
have
back
to,
to-
now you have to vote on the motion to approve the agreement for 45,000
The
to
original-
support the arts
need-
and advertising.
We need a motion.
No, you've already got a motion. The motion's amended. You have an amended motion pending. So vote in favor or against the amended motion.
It's my motion, but you're taking out the 41,000.
This is an amendment to her motion. It passed. So her motion is now amended to say 45,000.
That's correct.
So you vote on that. You have to vote on it.
We're voting on 45,000.
We're voting on 45,000.
Yes,
That's what I said, which is the original dollar amount.
yes.
So we need a motion.
No, you don't. You already
Already
got a
got it.
motion. You've got a
All
motion.
right, so now we're voting on approving
$45,000.
45,000 in accordance with the resolution of item 5C. And there has been a motion, there has been a second on that. All in favor, please vote. Thank you, motion is passed.
Thank you.
Moving on to item D, consider a resolution approving an offer of a hotel occupancy tax grant for fiscal year 18-19 budget in the amount of $35,000 to the Great American Shootout to directly enhance and promote tourism and the hotel industry, conditional upon approval in the fiscal year 18-19 budget.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Moving on, as I did earlier with the other two items, we'll move on to the last slide here as well. The Great American Shootout, otherwise known as GASO, has requested, $35,000. You can see there the previously awarded amount for 16-17 was $25,000, and then for 17-18 was $35,000. There's the event summary, and obviously this is multi-events into one request. It's 5 separate events over 14 days. The number of out-of-town attendees expected is 26,000, and the total number of attendees expected total is 38,000. The number of hotel rooms expected to be rented, 12,000 attendees will be renting rooms. All Duncanville
I would
rooms.
appreciate if council members would limit their side discussions, please. Thank you.
All Duncanville rooms are full for the event weekends, so that includes 287 major hotel rooms and 200 secondary hotel rooms. The number of hotel rooms rented last year, Duncanville Hotels reported to the applicant that all rooms were full for the event weekend. And so you can see again, if you look at those numbers, you can see what those are above that. So the funding request is for $35,000. This does offset the rental of the Duncanville facilities to hold these events. The estimated rate of return, or ROI, is, you can see up there, is over 1,000%. So basically for every dollar spent, the city gets back $20.13. So with that, the applicant is here this evening to answer any questions that you might have in regards to their request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your name, please?
I'm Sam Lowe. Grew up at 1235 Lodima here in Duncanville, Texas. Now operate the Great American Shootout tournaments. It is 5 different events. Last year it was 4. We've added an event here in Duncanville. The 5 events will have about 1,100 teams. Our tournament tips off, our big tournament, 440 teams, tips off this Thursday. So we're going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Teams from Australia, Bahamas, Mexico, about 10 or 11 states. We have referee camps that come in from the Big 12 and the SEC, a small college camp for referees. So between teams, fans, parents, college coaches, it's just a busy weekend. Marriott said every hotel they had within 20 minutes of Duncanville was full. So I know everything we advertise and market in our events is the Duncanville Great American Shootout. So we use gyms locally and throughout the Metroplex, but it's marketed as Duncanville. So the coaches and everybody wants to stay in Duncanville, and then they move out from there as Duncanville fills up. So it fills up a lot of hotels, teenagers, parents, eating, spending time in the city. So I grew up here, graduated from Duncanville High School. We brought this event here about 8 years ago as one event. We've expanded it to 5. So, you know, it's kind of being home to me and part of where I grew up. So any questions about the event or what's going on?
Any question? Ms. James?
You said you grew up at 235 Lodima.
1235.
1235, that's my district. Where do you live now?
I live in Fort Worth.
What?
I'm sorry. My parents lived here for 48 years.
And why would you move to Fort Worth?
I don't know, my wife. Sometimes you have to listen to your wife.
Where is she?
She's not here.
I can't even believe you did that. And don't you miss it?
I love it here. That's why I came back with business.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear that.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes, Mayor. I move to approve the hotel occupancy tax of $35,000 to the Great American Shootout to directly promote promotional expenses and the rental of Duncanville facilities.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Please vote. Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5F. Consider a resolution approving an offer of a hotel occupancy tax grant for the fiscal year 18-19 budget in the amount of $55,000 to the Museum of International Cultures to directly enhance and promote tourism and the convention and hotel industry. I'm sorry. Please excuse me. Okay. Got it. Hit me. Okay. I'm sorry. I will restart. Consider a resolution approving an offer of a hotel occupancy tax grant for fiscal year 18-19 budget in the amount of $30,000 to the Duncanville Community Theater to directly enhance and promote tourism and the hotel industry, conditional upon approval in the fiscal year 18-19 budget.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Again, the Duncanville Community Theater is requesting $30,000. Previously awarded amounts for FY 16-17 included $30,000, and they have not asked for an increase since then. In terms of the summary, the total number of attendees expected is 2,300 per year. The number of hotel rooms expected to be rented are 10, and then 10 were rented for last year as well. The funding request is for $30,000. This is for advertising and the theater production cost, which these costs, as long as they bring in guests outside of the community, do qualify under state guidelines. So with that, I do have the applicant here, and she'll be has a presentation for you. Just 1 minute.
Please.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present our request for the hotel occupancy tax funds for this fiscal year.
Your name, please.
Amy Jackson, Executive Director, Duncanville Community Theater.
Thank you.
Our mission since 1988, Duncanville Community Theater remains committed to providing outstanding and diverse live theatrical performances, as well as theatrical education and outreach opportunities for all ages. A summary of last season. Our season runs from June 1 through May 31st each year. Last year we presented 6 main stage productions. Each production rehearses 4 to 5 weeks, and then we perform over 2 weekends, Thursday through Saturday. With one exception, last year we performed Thursday, Saturday, and a Sunday matinee so that we could support the Duncanville Christmas Parade on Friday evening. We also offered 3 workshops last year, educational workshops, a 2-week kids class in the summer, Saturday Halloween fun in October, and an adult weekend new in 2s that we offered in April. We had 36 performances. We had 2,317 audience members. We involved 153 volunteers. Our production income was $29,256. Our patron donations and fundraising was $45,800. And our workshop income, which is always fairly low, is $759. I'd like to review the shows that we did last year. This shows the diversity of the production, the diversity of the cast members, as far as ethnicity and age. We opened the summer with You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. It was a musical. It was great fun. Then in September, we produced The Trip to Bountiful, a more serious play by Horton Foote, a Texas playwright. In December, we did A Christmas Carol. It was adapted by one of our board members, Jerry Ayers, of course, based on Charles Dickens' famous novel. In February, we did the fun romantic comedy Love, Sex, and the IRS. In March, we did Murder by Natural Causes, and in May, we closed the season with the Savannah Sipping Society. Our hot funds emphasis, and this is fairly important. I've talked to a lot of community theater directors across the state. I have the opportunity to do that through my real work as well as my volunteer work at the community theater. And it's very difficult to specifically track your hotel impact with community theaters, but we do have a wide variety of tourism impact, and we know that people come from out of state, they come from out of town to see our actors and to participate. Excuse me, to participate in the plays. But our goal is to produce and promote first-rate productions which will attract visitors to Duncanville, thereby increasing tourism. And I call attention here to our website, we have a page called Plan a Visit to DCT. And I actually did update this afternoon. I think it still has this slide has the quality in there on there. But if you go to that page, it does have the roadway in on there. And there's a direct link to each of those hotels so that you can go directly to their website and book a reservation there if you want to plan a visit to DCT. We also list restaurants, and we often have our audience members call, and they tell us what kind of food they're interested in, or if they're interested in fast food or a sit-down dinner, and we can help them work through where they'd like to eat prior to a show. Advertising and marketing, we work hard at this. Here are some examples of what we have. We have a billboard on I-35E in DeSoto. It's between Pleasant Run and Beltline it's on the southbound service road. Now, if you think, why? Well, it's on the southbound. How do you see it? As you're coming in, entering the Metroplex from Waco, you see it. Also, if you're anywhere around there, if you're at the Walmart on the other side in Lancaster, you can see that billboard. If you look at it right now, you will see that it's empty. I am going to be very honest. The spring wind, well, actually the June winds, blew the billboard down, and we're in process of working with the company to have it reinstalled. So if you were to look tomorrow, you would say there's nothing there, but it's true, there's nothing. It's not like there's a blank billboard or there's another billboard there. They're in the process of remaking that signage for us. We do email blasts. We do at least 8, they go to 800, and we do at least 13 per season, 2 per show, and then typically 2 or 3 others to announce the season and special events. We have an ad in the Waco Civic Theater Playbill, and they do this, that goes throughout their entire season, all of the productions that they have, all of their special events. That ad will be in their playbill. It's a color ad inviting folks to Duncanville, and you'll see that you can't see it very well, but there's a map up in the upper right-hand corner showing exactly where Duncanville is. We do postcards. We have a lot of people that still like snail mail, and they want to get that in their mailbox. And that goes to about 275 right now. That continues to decrease as people want more email. But 55 to 60% of those addresses are in zip codes outside of Duncanville. We are a member of Texas Nonprofit Theaters. We pay dues each year, and one of the things we get with that, if we submit our season to them, they send out what they call the TNT Marquee that goes to thousands of people all over the world, truthfully, and that's the TNT Marquee, and we get an opening weekend email blast, and we get a closing weekend email blast. Facebook, we have about 1,300 followers right now. We continue to invite more. We invite all of you to follow us on Facebook. We do numerous posts. There's no count. Different, during rehearsals, we post rehearsal posts, and we post show posts, we post audition notices. Facebook has really been an enormous asset, and then we do blasts from time to time where we pay a little bit of extra money to make sure that we hit even a larger audience on that. Then Southwest Now, we run 7 ads per season in Southwest Now magazine. Sometimes we add one at Christmas, advertising gift certificates. As I think other folks have said this evening, that hits about 50,000 homes, and not all of them are, of course, in Duncanville. They're outside in the Best Southwest area. Hot funds, last year we requested $30,000, and it was 29% of our income last year. Next season, we're with this season for right now, $30,000, and we are projecting that it's 34% of our income. There's no way to really be exact about that because we have patron donations, and sometimes at Christmas and toward the end of the year, they're very generous, and that's what happened last year, and we were fortunate to receive those. Tourism impact. By offering quality entertainment close to local hotels and restaurants, DCT stands as a vibrant venue for tourists to visit. DCT audiences, cast, and crew will typically purchase meals, gasoline, and incidentals while in our city. Some patrons do also book hotel rooms, and we have been known to supplement some of those when they found a cheaper rate on Priceline in a neighboring city. We've donated Hilton points to make sure they stay in our fair city. And I want to point out, the reason I say cast and crew, it's important to note that we have actors and crew members who come from all over the Metroplex. So it's not just Duncanville folk who are in those plays. We have people who come from North Dallas, who come from North Richland Hills, Plano and Richardson. And when they come down here, they eat and they buy gasoline. And sometimes when they're too tired to drive home, they get a last-minute motel room at the Motel 6. They don't always tell me that. I don't always know. But even just the fact that we produce the plays, not just our audience members, but even our cast and crew members also do promote tourism. This is our 2018-2019 season, and I'd like to just run through it very quickly. We open an evening of culture, Faith County 2. The saga continues this week. That is Thursday night. It is a silly comedy. It's good summertime fun. In September, we'll do Silent Sky, based on a true story of female astronomers who most of the men got the credit for in the early 1900s. It's a very serious show, but it's a really nice, powerful show. In November, we're going to be doing Butterscotch. It's a play about a 1949 butterscotch-colored Ford and the way that that heals family and generations learning to get along together. In February, we're going to do a romantic feel-good comedy again. You Can't Get There From Here. I'll be directing that one. And in March, we'll do Scotland Road. It's kind of a thriller, Twilight Zone thing about a woman who survived the Titanic, and they found her floating on an iceberg, and that's about all I'm going to tell you right now. And we'll end the season with Beehive, the 60s musical, and we anticipate most of the folk will be standing up singing along during curtain call. It's a great, fun show. And that is our season. Thank you very much. I'm welcome any questions you might have.
Ms. Jameson.
Amy, I know that we had talked before, and you had said it would certainly help the theater if there was signage. And so my question is, to Jessica, can we get signage for the theater? And I know you had some concern about that you couldn't put any more on your plate as to keeping the upkeep of the signage. So if it goes through her request at the theater, then does that mean she has to keep up with the signage because I know that it qualifies? Or if we do it, then we keep it up?
Yes, Councilmember Jameson, as I said earlier, that is one of the items that is a goal for staff is to put up visitor signage. So it's really not necessary. That will be a budgeted item, so it's not necessary for Amy to request that funding because it will not only highlight the theater, but highlight the other attractions that the community has to offer. And so as soon as whatever's decided on the logo, once that decision's made, from that standpoint, we will be moving forward with the signage program. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I would think that we would be probably using her logo for the theater. No, you're.
Well, typically.
But you have a logo for the theater that
right. I had asked her after you and I had talked. Most cities, it says museum or theater, so I'm okay if it doesn't have our logo. What I'm really concerned, we have patrons who come from North Dallas, and they call me and they're lost. They turn the wrong way because GPSs don't always tell them the right thing anymore, and they're going the wrong way on Main Street. So I think that I was really pleased with, after I had spoken with you, she and I had a good conversation about that as well. And as soon as the new city logo, I'm more concerned about them saying community theater this direction, Olden Year Museum that direction, or Museum of Cultures this way, as people get off Highway 67 and I-20. But I appreciate that because you're right. That's been something we've really wanted, and we're excited that they're looking forward to that now.
Okay, and so we're talking that this is going to come out of the hotel motel funding. Okay. But for the theater on directions.
Yes, ma'am, they will be addressed in their office.
Okay, well, good. I just want to make sure it was covered.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Cooks.
Just real quickly, Amy, I want to commend you on the plays.
Thank
I've
you.
had an opportunity to sit in on a few, and actually, as you know, brought you a check as a patron.
Yes, you did.
Because I enjoyed it so much. But I also want to commend you on the diversity of your cast. I know about 4 years ago, I've asked you that, and you did that from age to ethnicity to all of those things. So I want to commend you in that direction.
Thank you.
I love to see, as you talk about telling the story more about the theater, maybe allocating some more funds for your for Facebook or for social media. I think the more we do that, the more we're able to tell our story throughout our city, outside of our city, the more attractions we'll get coming to our city. So I know you have some chamber advertisement, some direct printing, but those things with social media is kind of a little bit of nothing, but would love to see that a little more. However, I do love the mail piece that you send to me because it helps me as well. So.
Right. Well, and I think that's important. And one of the things that we're very fortunate on, one of the reasons our Facebook numbers, if you look at the application that we had, our director, Dawn McCallum, is our director of community relations, and she formerly worked for a very, 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 very large company in their social media marketing portion of their company, and she has all sorts of secrets and good things that she can do that we can we can do those things without spending as much money. So it's kind of nice to have her on board.
Okay, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I move to approve the hotel occupancy tax of $30,000 to the Duncanville Community Theater to enhance and promote tourism through the promotion of arts for advertising and theater production costs.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have seconds. All in favor, please vote. That's a positive, right?
That's positive.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5F. Consider a resolution approving an offer of a hotel occupancy tax grant for the fiscal year 18-19 budget in the amount of $55,000 to the Museum of International Cultures to directly enhance and promote tourism and the convention and hotel industry, conditional upon approval in the fiscal year 18-19 budget.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. The amount requested, as you stated, Mayor, is for $55,000.
Oh, excuse me. I need a quick discussion with council. Let me
Sir?
interrupt just a moment, please. My apologies. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the previously amounts awarded, you can see for FY 16-17, the museum was awarded $50,500. In addition to that, they were also awarded an additional $4,643 at a later date to complete the electrical work for their pole sign that the city had supported. In FY 17-18, they were awarded $30,000. In terms of the summary for the overall activities for the museum, the total number of attendees expected from the applicant indicated 25,000 per year. The number of hotel rooms expected to be rented for the upcoming year is 300. The total number of rooms rented for this last year, they estimate to be 116 rooms. The funding is requested as follows: $20,000 for a visitor center, $5,000 for advertising, solicitation, promotion programs to attract tourists and convention delegates, and $30,000 for promotion of the arts that directly enhance tourism and the hotel and convention industry. So at this point, the applicant is here, and she will be coming forward to do a presentation.
Mayor and City Council, thank you for the opportunity to present an update on the museum. Our chairman, Gwen Brown, had to leave. One of our docents is here, and she regularly handles the many people that come in. We've got about 50 children coming in the morning, and she'll be doing an interactive presentation with them as well as some of the other docents. But tonight, I wanted to at least read you the names of our board. We have 11 very dedicated members of our Board of Trustees. Gwen Brown, former Dean of Academics for DISD, this year is our chair. Dr. Jerry Cotton, the retired dean from Cedar Valley College, is our immediate past president. Tim Maiden, whom you all know, a resident here of Duncanville, is our incoming chair. Glenn Majors, who lives over on Nob Hill, he is our treasurer, and Julie Johnson is our secretary. And Dr. Liza Ting, Felicia Johnson, Everett New, Gabriel Murat, Jaime Salazar, and Cynthia Klein complete the 11 members of our board. And our history, our mission, our profile, we will quickly go through it. I know the hour is late, and you've been here for a very long time. This is the frontage of the south side of the building. You'll see one a little bit later of the north. Our museum was developed by linguists and anthropologists, and we were chartered in 1979 here in Duncanville, operated a small exhibit over in the James Collins building, and in '81 we completed a building and leased some land out at the Linguistics Center. And then in 2012, Dan O'Leary encouraged me to return to Duncanville, and it was a very good decision. Dan Pickering immediately told me that he could find the space for us. So we're pleased to be back in Duncanville. That is simply our mission statement. It has not changed. We have a broader scope in many cases, but our mission is still to bring people in to enhance their appreciation for ethnic and cultural diversity. And you'll see pictures in just a moment of one of the events that we have every month that is a multicultural event, and it's a really fun thing. It says a lot about bringing people into Duncanville. Tonight we are asking for $55,000. The arts promotion grant that we have enjoyed and appreciated over the past few years, we will ask for that because that is the things that will promote the exhibits of the museum. We added we have been maintaining a visitors information center since we moved there. We have brochures from the area. I try to keep special coupons and that sort of thing as the local restaurants give them to me, because many of our people who come in, I have 3 different groups that come every year to see which coupons I have, because they're going to spend the day shopping in Duncanville. Some ladies from Rockwall is one of them from Tyler, and when they come this far, they're going to spend some time. So we already have that, but we need to be able to expand that. There's an opportunity to join with the museums that come across the Texas Lakes Trail. We are putting together an organization where we will be promoting travel across there, and we're going to put jointly we're going to publish a museum, and we hope that will enhance the overnight stays, because our museum will be about halfway from out in the Mount Vernon and Mount Pleasant area and all the way over to Nocona. So we'll have an opportunity to hopefully garner more of the overnight stay than some of the others. So to enhance what we presently have to be more attractive for people to stop, we will add a coffee bar. We already do something, but it's not a formal coffee bar, but we want to do some things that will have the people sit down and let us even have an opportunity to tell them about some of the other things that are located in our area. So we think that we will have an opportunity to greet a good many more people. Just today, we had a young man that flew in yesterday from LA. I'd heard that he was interested in something, but anyway, he flew here to do some research at the museum, and when he got here, he said, I cannot get it all done in the limited time I have, so I'm going to come week after next and stay 3 days. He's writing a book about the South American cultures, and he wanted to photograph our artifacts, and then we have a library that was donated to us by Dr. Merrifield, our founder, and so we have books that are out of publish now. So we have those kinds of people that drop in, but during the summer particularly, we have people from all over the world, and certainly from all over the country. We had we've had visitors, and we keep a map up so we know that we have visitors from every state in the United States, and we had 81 international countries visitors from 81 countries visit our museum last year. So up to this present moment, we have had 18,000 visitors come into the museum since October. We have, we've attributed the 116, and that has come from the Gaston Seminar Group. They've only held one of their seminars so far this year, because they've just begun that, but we have an agreement with them. They're going to present 4 seminars a year. It's a training in inclusion and diversity, and the last time I think they had 12 that stayed 3 days, but their seminars generally run about 25 is their maximum. They'll run from 10 to 25, so that will enhance our overnight. Our dental group continues to meet at the museum, and they bring in a visitor every month and put them at the Hilton Garden Inn. So we have been very fortunate to have people staying over, and that's is exactly what we want for people to see our city and to appreciate what we have. These are some of the places that we advertise. Of course, we're a member of the Texas Heritage Trail and the Texas Lakes Trail, and are very active in those organizations because they promote the tourism. And the Texas Heritage Trail has held their annual meeting at our museum, as has the DFW and beyond, and that certainly brings a lot of people that are involved with tourism to the museum, and we've worked very closely to have them promote us. They keep brochures, that sort of thing, and the other publications. The Veterans View is a national publication, and that is because we have, since 2 years ago, we began with the 100th anniversary of World War I, and we will be celebrating again the week of November 11th, and we are able to bring in a goodly number of people to the various activities. But the big activity that we have in the Veterans View was very interested in this, that Dr. Bill White entertains, and our special guests are the patients from the DFW Veterans Hospital, and that's always a fun day for that. But then just generally the things that we do at the museum that attract people both from our local area, but we have the tours, as I said, and we have 12 discovery boxes that go into the schools. And they go in. We actually shipped some last year. I'm not real interested in shipping things all across Texas to go around, but we do. And if it's in the DFW, we will deliver and pick up. And then our summer day camp, this year we did pop-up camps rather than the full day, because when they call, they reserve, we do a full day of activity, but we do them on a daily rather than a weekly basis. We do have, like I said, our discovery boxes and the opportunity that we go into schools, because we're a part of the Big Thoughts program of Dallas, and it's an outstanding program. And we probably, during the school year, we would have, many times we'll have tours 5 days a week, and their tours run like 100 students at a time, but we're able to handle that with our facilities. Ms. Setter, who's here tonight, does an interactive program that is outstanding, and we've committed that to a recording because we use it in some schools.
Excuse me, would the audience please limit their conversations, please? Hello? Hello? Please allow the respect to the presenter. Thank you.
And then we have our multicultural dinners that are just phenomenal, and you'll see some pictures of those in just a moment. Yes, Tim Perry serves on our board, and he's a videographer and does some outstanding things for us. And this was a part of what we showed at our annual banquet. There's our wonderful sign, thank you. And that's our multicultural fourth Saturday, a free event to the public, and they will usually run between 40 and 60 in attendance. The Perrys are in charge of that. I think this was our Uganda Those are our discovery boxes, those two. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Move to approve.
You have to put the-
Oh, excuse me.
If I could, just a moment, an individual who wished to speak deferred until this point in time. I need to allow the constituent to come up right now.
She's gone, isn't she?
Gail Sliger.
Oh.
Who were you asking for?
If you step aside, the constituent wanted to speak.
Oh, excuse me.
Thank you.
Oh,
Gail Sliger, 1405 South Main, Duncanville, Texas. I certainly believe that the council should support the Museum of International Cultures, and I'm in favor of granting the $30,000 for the arts portion of this. I, however, do not believe that the city should have 2 visitor centers. As a business person who needed to gather information about communities across the U.S., it would never have dawned on me to call anybody except the Chamber of Commerce. While the city has been very generous with the Museum of Cultures, and I expect them to continue to do so, I think it could be very confusing to have 2 visitors information centers. And since we do have the Chamber of Commerce Visitor Center, I would ask that you would continue to support that. With the communications, the electronic communications now, it could be very confusing if we had 2 visitor centers. So I would ask that you would reconsider the $25,000 for a visitor center. Thank you.
Okay, and Ms. James and Ms. Thomas had her light on first, so I needed to, or defer, okay, fine.
Oh,
Thank you.
I was just making the motion. Did you have something you wanted to say? Okay, well, I make the motion that we approve the $55,000 to the Museum of International Cultures to directly enhance and promote tourism and the convention and hotel industry upon the approval for the 18-19 budget.
$20,000 to the visitor center, $5,000 for advertising, and $30,000 for promotion of arts.
So are you seconding it?
So that would be a second. And just to remind the council that they can amend our motion.
But the motion still totals 55,000. Right, it's itemized. Okay. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a discussion with the mayor, sorry. The visiting center, give me more information on that, Ms. Mary Fay, on the visiting center of $20,000. What exactly will be used, would that $20,000 be used for?
Right now, I'd be sure there was some air conditioning in that area where we ask the visitors that come in to sit down and look at the brochures or go over some of the places that they would see. We have a coffee place back behind the area where the visitors come in on the north door of the tourists come in the south door to tour the museum. But if people are just stopping by off of the street, and we have such wonderful visibility with Highway 67. When people are driving down 67, they stop. Matter of fact, we get a lot of our visitors through AAA because as they're going down 67, they'll remember they have seen that in the AAA magazine where we always have coupons and what have you. So they come in. So the visibility from there makes it very easy for us to get people that are stopping in, needing information about the city or whatever is there. And we feel like that if we can enhance our presence and spend some more effort in that area, we can have them stay and do other things in the community. Because right now, if they come in, we certainly give them some brochures, or like I said, some of them are wanting what restaurants or fast food place. We have a little group from Wiley that comes every year, and they want to eat at one of the upscale places. They go over to Genghis Grill and some of those things. And so when there's extra coupons, well, they pick those up. Because they bring over 50 kids that go over to Genghis Grill. So having those in a place that's not in where we're doing our tours is not the place that we promote those kinds of things. We're in business of giving the tours, but over in the area where we have it's a visitor's information, we have brochures and coupons and that sort of thing that we feel like that's not in competition at all with the Convention and Visitors Center at the Chamber, because they're looking to do conventions, and I assume that perhaps they do packets and that sort of thing. The things that we do with seminars and various groups that we bring in, we do goodie bags and that sort of thing. As a matter of fact, this Thursday we're having 15 businesswomen from Rwanda, Africa, and 12 businesswomen from Afghanistan that will be having dinner at the museum on Thursday evening, and I hope some of you can join us. It's an incredible evening. They've been coming for many years. Patrick has been there in the past, and it's a really wonderful thing to see these women that are coming over here wanting to do business in America, and they find opportunities to do those kinds of things. And then on August 2nd, we do a teacher appreciation and seminar. It's an all-day seminar in conjunction with UNT Dallas that gives 6 CEUs to our teachers that stay for the day, and we furnish their dinner, and
it's interesting, but I think if you could direct your comments back to Mr. Cooks's question, which is the effect of the $20,000. What are you going to do with that?
Well, we're going to upgrade that area. It needs some paintings. It needs the shelving, and needs some things that would be more enhancing. And I want to put the bistro table will be there, so when people are looking at their brochures and can visit the coffee bar. And we'll be doing the brochure that we're going to be doing as in conjunction with the Texas Lakes Trail museums that's located across our area. We'll be doing a joint brochure promoting our museum as the stopping place.
Okay, Ms. Jameson?
No, just,
you have
continue.
okay.
No, thank you, that answered the question, but I guess I still struggle with the 20,000 on the that you're asking for.
Well, one of the things that the Visitor Center grant does, it provides for some staffing, and I could be open on Saturday if I had additional staffing to pay someone. Right now, I have 3 reemployability people that are assigned us, and it's wonderful. They are receiving their full salary, and they're seconded to us, and has helped us tremendously as we've had budget cuts and doing some things, because those are, we have 120 hours a week is given to the museum to help us be ready to greet. And right now, I've got one of them seated permanently over there. When our visitors come in wanting brochures, they can give them to them. But if out of that grant, we would have money that we would have to augment some salary.
Okay, so last comment for me. I could support less than 20,000 with an opportunity as 67 continue to grows, as the area continue to grows, to eventually seeing another visit center on where you're located. Right now, I can't get my hands around it enough. I also like to just mention, not just to your organization, but I think the heads and beds that we keep speaking of, the one I really put value, a whole lot of value in, is the museum, not the museum, the theater. Because the theater talked about that 10 number of heads and beds. I think that was more realistic when you talk about heads and bed. And so if there was more heads and bed in the museum, perhaps that I could see more on the visitor center. I'll tell you what, personally, I probably need to visit a little bit more, and so I'll be doing that throughout this year as well.
Well, I hope you will.
But currently, with the 20,000, I would offer up a friendlier amendment of doing less than the $20,000 on the visitor center.
Ms. Jameson?
Well, first of all, I have been there, and I have been there during when you had your organizations coming in, and I've seen all the people from not only out of town, but out of the country, and they have to stay somewhere. Also, we remodeled the Chamber of Commerce twice, and she's asking for air conditioning in the front. And another problem with the building was that the previous owner was not required to have a sprinkler system, and Ms. Cam was. She had to put in a $100,000 sprinkler system that we never required before in that building. And I noted that you were opened more hours than the chamber was. In fact, in the evenings. So you don't lock the front door, do you, when people?
Oh, no.
So you are open for more people, more hours for people to come in?
We're open 6 days a week. Well, there's always some function on Saturday, and most
It's a
often
lot
on
more.
Sundays. We have a little dance group that comes, and then we had a study group. So many times we're open 7 days a week, and when we're open during the day, we close at 4, and we open back up usually about 6 for whatever group is coming in to visit, to be, they'll hold their meetings and that sort of thing.
So she has longer hours and more days than the chamber's open for a visitors center. So well, there's no reason to amend the motion.
Well, I just have a question or comment. Do you title that area of your building Visitor Center? Or is this just nomenclature you're using here in our discussion?
No, I have signage, and I would like to put matching signs to what we have down on the other side, where it's it has International Museum of Cultures, and Chuck has not come over to change the sequence of back to Museum of International Cultures. It's permanently installed, but he's going to come and change it. But I was hoping that we could put Visitor Center on the other, and I was waiting to see if we could get the funding.
You have signing inside the facility that says Visitor Center.
On our mobile sign, we do, but I don't have it on the building right now.
Okay, but so on your own
But a part of
volition,
this money would go for that.
On your own volition, you've created a visitor center, a second visitor
Well,
center for
we've
the
had,
city.
yes, we've always billed that we had visitors, it's visitors information. We
She has
say
a guest book sign in when you walk in the door, and visitor stuff right when you walk in the door, right now.
And so we know from where people come and that sort of thing. And if they have, when they stop, and not necessarily to go to the museum, but to get some information about what's there. And if they stop and get that, they usually tour the museum.
So that portion of your building that has no air conditioning that you're asking for is
I've just got 2 air conditioners that have gone down, and it's on that side of the building right now, and then we have some other repairs to the air conditioners. I'm very conscious of that. My office is also one that was affected. I have no air conditioning, but the north entrance of the area is without.
So question to Ms. James, is the addition of HVAC part of what's permitted under the 9 criteria for hotel tax?
I will let Mr. Hager answer that question.
The museum part, to promote the museum, you can make infrastructure improvements in the museum, assuming they meet the test that's required of heads and beds. So it's heads and beds plus a museum qualifies, expenditures for capital improvements for a museum qualify.
Okay, so it would fall under, HVAC would come under the category of capital improvements and infrastructure to the building itself?
Yes.
Okay. and just wanted to make sure that that expenditure would be authorized. Okay. Ms. Jameson, or you're up? No, okay. Okay. Okay, we have,
No, we didn't, no one, we had the amendment open, no one seconded, so.
Then it drops.
well,
No one seconds it.
you made a comment. I
Okay,
didn't hear,
that's fine,
I
that's
didn't
fine.
hear,
Don't worry about
I
it.
didn't hear you formalize a motion.
I did not, you're right.
Heard you make a comment.
You're right.
So are you changing?
No.
Or are you just making a comment?
I'll make the comment. The only reason that I would not support the 55,000, or I'll vote against the amount, is because of the 55,000 or the 20,000 for the Business Bureau. So other than that, no, my vote is not against the museum. Ms. Mary Kay, I know you did a great job in the museum, so I'm not voting against that. Please note that. But I will be voting against the amount.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I know we're not allowed to talk to council members, but we have to talk to you. So if I could talk to you and it hits you and bounces off to Mr. Cook. Instead of torpedoing the whole one, if you make an amendment just on the visitor center, then we can salvage the 30,000 and the 5,000. We can salvage that part if that's. But you need to make an amendment.
But I'm not agreeing to a friendly amendment.
But it wouldn't be a friendly amendment. We'd have to vote on it.
Okay. So.
Yeah. So I don't.
Are you making?
So.
Because I don't want him to vote against the whole thing just because he doesn't want to do the visitor center.
But Mr. Cooks chose not to make an amendment. I already asked him that question, and he decided not to make an amendment. He's simply making a comment for informational purposes.
For clarification purposes, there was a question that was asking me about the museum and about the expenditure for the air conditioning. My comment was capital improvements for a museum would fall within. I don't know if capital improvements for the visiting center as we stated. So I just want to make sure when we have the agreement that the money gets allocated appropriately so that Ms. Cam knows what she can spend it for.
Well, she has an ex post facto visitor center created on her own without
Correct,
approval or consent of the
my
city.
comment was to the museum for capital improvements for
Right.
the museum, not necessarily for the visitor center. So,
Right, so-
I just want to make it clear, so when she signs her agreement, you fund X amount of dollars, and I want to make sure that it gets allocated appropriately.
Okay. One comment before I call for a vote. I tend to concur with Mr. Cooks that we have a visitor center. The additional $20,000 to equip your created visitor center is understandable and commendable. The museum itself is a wonderful addition, facet of our community, and does a great job for all that we do. I think it's the way that this particular $20,000 has been characterized just causes me concern, and I have the same concern that Mr. Cooks does. I'm not going to vote against it. I'm sorry, I'm going to not support it, but I wanted the council and you to understand my position, and I think that's what Mr. Cooks was doing as well. We love the museum, love all that you do, as our fiduciary responsibility here as a council just needs to come into play, and we're being very, very careful. So we have a motion to approve. I'm sorry, Mr. Schwartz.
I'm going to make a comment, and then I'm going to make a substitute motion. I guess I'm going to ask a question and make a comment. How much will the air conditioning cost? Do you have any estimates on that?
I have one, and it was 13,000, and I have asked for two others because I thought that was rather exorbitant, and certainly was beyond our reach. So we're going to have to. I had a call this afternoon that the Masons that hold their meetings there, they had someone that is in that business, and he said he would get us another bid that perhaps would be more palatable.
Well, it seems to me that we should make a substitute motion to move, if we want to pay for the air conditioning, move that over to the museum, take it out of the visitor center, and maybe we can solve everybody's problem we take the money out for the visitor center, pay for the air conditioning, plus the money she's asking for to operate the museum.
That's fine with me. So we can amend the motion to move the money, just have it all going towards the museum.
Microphone's on. Maybe what would be better to do is to, if the second and the motion will be withdrawn, and let Dennis make his amended motion and see how that
Okay, I'll withdraw it.
runs. The second withdraw their second. Mr. Schwartz, you may make.
I may need some help on the numbers here, but the amount that is for the museum is
30,000.
30 or 30?
30. They're asking for 35,000, 30,000 for promotions of the arts, so basically for the museum, and then $5,000 for advertising.
So 35 plus 13.
No.
30
35.
plus 5 plus 13.
That would fix the air conditioner, operate the museum,
And give them advertising budget
and give
of
them
$5,000.
$5,000 for advertising.
According to there's the itemization up there.
Yeah, she's got to turn the bills in.
Right.
Yeah.
She has to turn the bills in.
So,
Would that do it, do you think, Mary Faye?
Well, it would pay for
Needs
the
to
air
be put in
conditioning. It won't do
formal
anything in preparing what we do. I'll just have
yeah,
to go somewhere
she's a
else.
lawyer.
All right.
Wouldn't do what?
It wouldn't put any signage for the information center, but it would certainly take care of our immediate need. And we just have enough people that come in from all over the world, and they want information. So having a visitor center is critical to meeting the public's request for what we do where we are.
But that signage is not authorized.
I'm sorry?
The visitor center signage itself is not authorized. You created it.
No, yeah, I mean, that is a part of what we offer. I was just asking for the city to be a part of that. We've been
It
doing
meets state law.
that service to the people who come to us. And I've gotten from businesses in the area, and we have a rack and that sort of thing, but we've not expanded that because we haven't had the resources to do it, nor the personnel.
Okay. Mr. Schwartz, were you simply commenting, trying to put thoughts into cogent language here, or were you making a motion?
I'm making a motion, but I may need some help on that exact language, particularly since we have a contract on this.
Why don't you defer to Ms. Thomas and let her make your motion?
Leslie, would you make the motion?
Sure, I'll get recognized. Am I recognized?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve an offer of hotel motel tax in the amount of $43,000 to the Museum of Culture for the museum and $5,000 for advertising. So 48,000.
Okay.
Yeah. 30 plus 13, that's 43,000.
Well,
Plus $5,000.
The 30,000 that we get is for advertising the museum. The 5,000 is,
So the $30,000 is promotion of the arts.
right.
So plus the 13,000 for promotion of the arts, which will be infrastructure improvements, plus the 5,000 in advertising.
Okay, and that's going to be the brochure that we do that brings the visitors.
Yes, ma'am.
With the other museums. Okay.
And that totals 48,000. We have a
Second.
motion, and we have a second.
I just have comments when we finish. We can move on. I have comments when we finish.
All right, we will finish. Please vote. Motion is passed.
Okay, Mayor, and to all really everyone that applies, it really helps, and I know this is my first day of returning, but it really helped me more is when you present, that you stay with what you're requesting with is your documentation. When you get off of that documentation, for instance, a couple of presenters, if you tell me 20,000 for this, I'm looking strictly for that. If you tell me it's, if you ask for 40 and then you change for 50 even by council, it doesn't throw me off, but I really want to kind of stay with what you're requesting. And so just for future, if you're asking, you know, where am I thinking, I just want you to know that's how I'm thinking when I see the, when I'm looking at the.
The
when I'm-
proposal that was presented to the city was for 55,000, and it spelled out the things that we presented.
Right, but I'm just saying, so that's what, that's just me to give you my comments. And my last comments would be for all organization is finding a way also to keep, you can't keep your personal track, but heads in beds, if it's really heads in beds, really partner back up with our hotel industry and make sure the heads are really in beds and we're not just saying these numbers, because just hearing numbers, the heads in beds, and when you drive by and the hotels are not heads in bed, I'll struggle with that.
I write
I'll struggle with that
quarterly
as well.
report and, to the Economic Development Director, and that is spelled out and where
I'm
those
not,
heads
I'm not
are.
saying, I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying, just the overall general comment for any organization, when you talk about heads in beds, I love the partnership with the hotels to support what we're saying with heads in bed, and then when the number grows and it doesn't matches back up, it's causing me to have more questions. That's all I'm saying to everyone, not just your organization. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next item. Item G is election of mayor pro tempore for 2018-2019. According to our policy, the council member to be mayor pro tempore must have served a minimum of 1 year on a city council before being eligible to serve as mayor pro tempore. So, and as I understand it, it cannot be 2 consecutive terms, correct? Okay. And so what we have is 2 eligible individuals. 3. You're in a year? You have a year on? Okay, so we have 3 eligible individuals. Councilmember Jameson, Councilmember LeBlanc, and Councilmember Thomas. Okay. Now, the process to go through this is not itemized for me. It's my first time at it. I'm going to need some guidance in terms of, is there a nomination? Then we vote on the nominations.
Oh, is there a desire for nominations?
Okay.
Is there a desire in each one? I'd like to know if there's a desire from any one of those 3 to do it.
I nominate Patrick LeBlanc.
Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Leslie Thomas.
Audience, please refrain from your comments. Thank you. Okay, we have 2 nominations, Councilmember LeBlanc, Councilmember Thomas, and I guess it would be majority vote.
Explain the voting lights. We did this with voting lights. Excuse me, we did this with voting lights. One was green and one was red. So Mr. LeBlanc can be green, Ms. Thomas can be red, and we'll see how that turns out.
Green is yes, red is no.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, on your switch.
All right.
Mr. LeBlanc is yes, Ms. Thomas is no.
Just to make it clear, green is Councilmember LeBlanc, red is Councilmember Thomas. And green would be yes, and red would be no. Please vote. Councilmember Thomas is elected as our mayor pro tempore for 2018-2019. Item 5H, appoint city council members to serve on the audit committee and discuss and consider private citizens' appointment to the audit committee, as well as designate a chairman for the committee.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Richard Summerlin, Finance Director. The item that we have before you is to appoint council members to serve on the audit committee and discuss and consider private citizens' appointment to the audit committee, as well as designate a chairman for the committee. The audit committee serves a very vital function in that it's the primary liaison between management and the external independent auditor to ensure that there is in fact independence and to deal with any matters of disagreement. So to give you a little bit of history, excuse me, during the past year, city council members serving on the audit committee were Stephen Rutherford. He was the chairman of the audit committee. Dennis Schwartz, city council member. Leslie Thomas, city council member. And then our private citizens that served were James Talley, CPA, and Patrick Harvey, who's former council member and finance director of City of Seagoville. And both Mr. Talley and Mr. Harvey have indicated a willingness to serve another year if so appointed. So staff recommends appointing city council members to serve on the audit committee and to also discuss and consider private citizens' appointment to the audit committee and to designate a chairman for the committee.
So Councilmember Schwartz, and Councilmember Thomas, do you wish to continue to serve?
I will continue, but I have been on it 3 years, and I don't mind stepping down to let someone with a more financial background take my place.
And I'm interested in returning.
Okay, anybody else on council desire to serve on the audit committee? Is there any eligibility requirements for this? No.
I would, Mr. Mayor.
Patrick, would you like to do that?
Councilmember McBurnett. Okay, so what we have is Councilmember Schwartz, Councilmember Thomas, and Councilmember McBurnett for council. And entertain reappointing Mr. Talley and Mr. Harvey to the audit committee. Chair would entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved. So moved.
So moved.
Second.
We have a second. Please vote.
This sounds short.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I move to name Dennis Schwartz as the chairman of the audit committee.
No, he's not on the committee.
You have to name a chairman of the audit
Yeah,
committee.
part of our business is to name a chairman, according to what.
I thought Councilman Dunn McInnes, did I miss that? Am I getting tired?
And the,
Oh, it's 3 members. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay. I thought he was coming off, sorry.
So, Mr. Schwartz, do you wish to continue as chair?
I will serve as chair.
Okay. We have a
Second.
motion. We have a second. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item I, our last item, well, not even our last item. Take any necessary action as a result of the executive session.
Mayor and council, as a result of your executive session earlier this evening, I would ask you to consider the following motion. A motion to approve a retainer agreements with special legal counsel with Farrell Gillespie, Heath, and Witter for review of an employee internal investigation in an amount not to exceed $6,000, and for review and suggestions, if any, of the city's personnel policies, procedures, and practices in an amount not to exceed $4,000, and authorizing the city manager to sign.
Move approval.
Get,
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Please vote. Motion is approved. approved.
Fundamental 101.
Technical issues, I guess, okay. It is now 2300, 11 o'clock. Chief Brown, or is it Chief Ligney who's going to make this presentation? Do you wish to continue, or do you mind deferring this to our next meeting?
Sir, I'd love to move it to the next meeting.
And the monthly financial report as well? If council is acceptable to that, we'll defer both of these to our next meeting. So moved, I guess.
As long as it's with consent, no one challenges the ruling of the chair, it will be moved to the next meeting.
Okay. Any challenges to the movement of the chair? No. Okay. Okay. We are adjourned at 23:01 hours.